Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Titans TV. Today, we're going to be discussing Kemetic religion or Kemetic cult, and we're going to do that in regards to other world religions. So, we're going to look at that, in regards to Islam, Judaism, Christianity, see if there's any differences or similarities with them. Some people claim that Christianity, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, stole from Kemet. So we could also investigate those claims as well. Family Tree, let me know if you're live in the building with me as well. We have a link for the show to get you guys in to have a conversation with us as well. And please, if you can, hit up the like button. Let everybody know that we're live right now on Titans TV. Let me just double check. Let me know how the sound is sounding also. And then we're going to go in. So again, we're investigating the cultic practice of Kemet, which is obviously ancient Egypt. We're going to be discussing, if any of the groups around now are truly practicing Kemetic religion. And then we're going to delve into the similarities and differences of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism with Kemet. Was Kemet really the father of all these religions? So we're going to go into all of that today. We've got a lot of groups actually out there in the Americas, in the UK as well, and across Europe as well as Africa that claim Kemeticism, right? And I was watching something today, actually. I was watching something today called Cultic. It was a very good program with a lady as a guest, and she was breaking down the Kemetic religion, spirituality as such, and how it goes against, or it makes an attempt to go against Christianity and to disgrace or downgrade Christianity and to get people to follow on to Kemeticism and so forth, right? And I was like, wow, this is mad, this is mad. Because finally, you have people with intellect that actually is looking into Kemetic religion, philosophy, whatever you want to call it. They're looking into it. In popular culture, there is a lot of people talking about Kemet, and it was like, oh my God, like the worst of worst people that you're actually bringing up. Yeah. Some of you guys might actually like young Pharaoh, right? But like the worst of worst examples of an individual to say it represents. She does make a distinction of the different Kemetic schools of thoughts, right? But that's like, wow. Young Pharaoh, I think, seems to have quite a large following, so obviously it's a fair place to go. And I'm like, oh man, this is disgraceful, mate. This is and this is why I hate. This is why I try to tell like people over here, definitely in the UK, don't follow certain individuals in America, right? Don't follow certain individuals in America when it comes to Kemetic information. They may have Kemetic names, right? They may give you a vagary of Kemeticism, right? But in all actuality, they have nothing to do with true Kemetic philosophy. These people don't even, it's mad. These people don't even think that the Kemetic religion, the Kemetic language has been deciphered. The scripts haven't been deciphered. So all the information that they're talking about, how can it possibly be Kemetic? Because where are you getting your information from if you can't get it from the actual walls, temples, papyrus, steles, tombs, all these different places. If you can't learn the information, right, from the written literature, like what exactly are you actually going to be teaching people? It clearly can't be anything from the authentic culture itself. It's just some new age garbage, in my humble opinion. Yeah, my humble opinion is some garbage. And I'm like, man, we've got a long way to go, family. A long way to go. So, Family Tree, if you can hit up the like button. Let everybody know right now we're live on Titans TV. We're going in right now. We're talking about the Kemetic cults versus religion. And we're gonna get some real good information and some real juicy information in, right? Let me quickly just read out some of the chats quickly. We have Kemet Place. Let me see. Let me quickly go there beforehand. You know, we've got my queen Hawaii in the building. Jeez, long time. Greens to Kalam mods and chat. Let's go, baby. Titans TV. Hotep says Zoo221. Rika's up in the building. Rizar is up here as well. Family, have you heard from Black Shia Isat in recent times? I'm always concerned about the brother. You know, I haven't heard from him in a bit. A few months ago, he was all right then, but I don't know recently. Hopefully, the brother would know that we're live on Titans TV and he will just jump in and let you know. Man like Isa, the Black Shia intellect. Jeez. Okay, so let's get into this, right? So let's go into some Kemetic stuff before anything else. So I wanted to preface this as Kemetic cults, right? Because in all actuality, Kemet does not have a religion. Let me repeat that again. Kemet does not have an actual religion. Most people don't know what Kemet is. We were speaking or discussing Kemet about 7 years ago, and about, I don't know, I think it was like 5 years ago, we created something for the layperson to kind of understand what Kemet is from a religious mindset, a religious framework, right? And we brought something called the Kemetic Creed. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. The Kemetic Creed. If you have time, Google, YouTube, whatever the case is, Kemetic Creed. And we gave a nice framework to work with. 7 items for the Kemetic Creed. 7 items. We said that there's Gnosis, which is inclusive of know thyself, know the universe, know God. Yeah, or know God, know the universe, and you know your God. Right, whichever way you want to go. Right, so Gnosis was the first one. Then we spoke about there is a cosmogony or a cosmology. Then we spoke about an anthropology. Then we spoke about the theology of Kemet. Then we introduced something called the pedagogy of Kemet itself. Then we introduced the ethics of Kemet, which is Ma'at, of course. Then we introduced the last thing, the 7th one, which is its eschatology. What do Kemetics hold to be true in terms of the last days, the day of judgment, the day of resurrection, etc., etc., etc. We gave all these things, and we said at the very beginning, the Kemetic philosophy, and that's what we was teaching in Speaker's Corner, right? We spoke primarily about Kemetic philosophy. We never really went into the cultic practices or the actual practical application of Kemet. We spoke purely on the Kemetic philosophy. Most people talk about Kemetic spirituality and Kemetic this and Kemetic that. I'm like, nah, man. The real starting ground, if you actually want to know what this is the philosophy, because religion is a calcified form of a culture's philosophy. Okay, so we went into that. We taught the philosophy. But now, today, as of now, August the 24th, 2023, Calamel is now going to break down the religious element, the cultic element, right? The practical element, right? Because we always taught it's nothing to do with religion, it's nothing to do with the belief system, it's purely to do with a philosophy, a way of a group of people, society, organizing themselves and thinking about the world, thinking about themselves, their identity, who they are, you know, about their surroundings, etc., etc., etc. And they were able to divinize certain principles within inside of the cosmos itself, which we now think of as Kemetic religion, right? So we're going to go into some of that. Let me know if you're actually here with me, baby. Chase, man, like Samuel Conquest, salute to you, my brother. Thanks for getting in contact with me via the whole Instagram and that. So, as you said, let's give the people some knowledge. So let's teach for a little bit before we got people jumping on in. All right, so laying the groundwork, right? Laying the groundwork. So now we're actually going to start discussing the actual practical application, because I'm like, okay, so like all these Kemetic people say they practice Kemetic religion or Kemetic spirituality, and I'm like, what is that? What does that look like? A lot of people are giving themselves titles and names and creating temples, etc. And I'm like, How do you do something like that, right? When Kemet is a country, Kemet is an empire, right? It's a bureaucracy of a theocratic governing system, right? How do you do that when you don't have your own land? You don't have your own king or pharaoh. You don't have your own temple systems, which is an economic base, an education university base. It's not church. It's not a mosque. It's none of these things. It will be Kemetic. It will be mostly related to the parliament itself. Like a temple will be mostly related to parliament and a bank. That is what it would tell it. No, let me go into more detail. It will be related to parliament, a palace, a bank, a university, a hospital, all combined. I may be missing out some other stuff, cultic. Yeah. I would even say the best cultic version you would even think of wouldn't even be religion as such. It would be more like Freemasonry. It will be all of those things wrapped up into one organization, right? And it's like, how? I don't understand it. What is this Kemetic spirituality that people keep talking about? Because to me, this is new age stuff. It's got nothing to do with what the authentic Kemetics or Kemetiyu spoke about. I want to know where are people getting the information from. So you already know on Titans TV, it's like show us your information, my guy. Like, if you are truthful, then provide your evidence. Like, it's show and prove, baby. Like, if you're making these claims that you are practicing this, like, I want to see it, because I know I read a lot, right? And I practice Kemetic philosophy to a certain degree. So I'm always interested when other people say they practice it or they're bringing something. It's like, show me that. Show me. You know what they say? Show me that in the scriptures. Like, show me. Because it's getting to be very, very shameful when I go online, right? And I'm looking at Kemetic stuff and I'm like, rah, you got Christians here that are just, Christians are like on another level now. Back in the day, Christians weren't on this level, but Christians are on another level where they're actually, really becoming skilled apologists and skilled polemicists. And if you're coming with some tired old information, yeah, about Jesus and horrors, December the 25th and all of this stuff, right? It's like, you're not going to make it. And then you've got nothing to replace it. For example, if your whole, idea is to replace Christianity with Kemeticism, it's like, what exactly are you replacing it with? I'm always curious, like, what are you replacing it with? Because for me, I never understood it. Never once, in all my years of debating at Speaker's Corner and things of that nature, yeah, did I ever say like, leave your religion and join Kemetic. I'm like, it's a philosophy system. It's like Greek philosophy. You learn Greek philosophy, Chinese philosophy. You can learn philosophies and still remain in your religion. Our thing is not like religion or Islam, where, you have to follow my way. If you don't follow my way, then, you're out, or, this is the only way to be saved, to make it to heaven. No, it's a philosophy system. This is stuff that you go to university to learn. You can learn all different types of subjects or topics and get a degree in all of them, right? And you don't need to convert into another religion. So it's always baffling to me. But anyways, yeah, let me not speak too much. Yeah, I'm gonna get into some information. Okay, so Titans been ages. Hope all is well. I'll give a listen later. Okay. Oh yeah, man, it's been real bad. It's been bad. So, oh, jeez, man, like scientific methods up in the building. What's good, family tree? Yeah, so let's get it. So, family, as I always say, hit the like button. Let everybody know that we're live right now on Titans TV. And if you want to support as well, right? If you want to support, let's see. Oh, brother Garfield's up in here as well. So, if you want to support, right? Let me see if I can share the screen. Boom, boom, boom. Share the screen. You already know. If you want to support, the Cash App is there, Titans TV. If you want to jump on the panels in future shows, right, holler at me on WhatsApp right there, and you can just message me. We can have some, conversations. And anytime we got shows, I'll definitely send you the link out first, right? All right. So let me go back. Stop sharing screen. All right, cool. So I wanted to jump into this quickly. Let me see if I can do this right. Because let's see. Where are we going? I'll go here.
So what are we talking about today, by the way, beloved? Peace and love to you, Kalam, for having a wonderful show again today. What's up? What is it that you want to really talk about today, as far as Kemetic religion versus what is it? What are you saying? I'm trying to see the Kemetic cult versus religion. So you calling it a cult? Oh man, you starting a problem, man. You starting a war before you even start, man. Oh man.
I am trying to start troubles from good early, but I definitely want to get a lot of Kemetics actually on the panel, to have these conversations, because a lot of this Kemetic stuff here is starting to become pseudo as hell.
Yeah, I think right? I'm gonna share something with you today, right? That I never got to bring this out during the debate with Jabari, but I want to share something with you when I get a chance to share my screen. In that a lot of things that we believe is true is not necessarily true when it comes to Kemet. And I think what happens is we hold to such Egypt, and we're trying to say it's black and it's us, and it's not us. It's not sub-Saharan Africans. These are people from Northern Africa, which are a different group of people. We basically are sickle cell trait carriers, which goes back to 7,300 to 22,000 years in West and Central Africa. And the haplotype, we see it in 10% of Africans, 10% of Afro people from Britain. We see it in the African people carrying it over, and we have evidence of where we're from. But we'd rather be from Ethiopia, Egypt, Nubia, Canaan, Israel. That's where we'd rather be from. Israel, not Nubia, I'm sorry. Israel, Arabia, Egypt, or modern day Ethiopia. Those are the 4 places we want to come from. We don't want to come from nowhere else. That's the only 4 places that we want to come from. 99% of us wants to be either a Christian, which is connected to the ancient Near East and Israel. We want to be Muslims, which is connected to Arab, which is Mecca, Medina. We want to be Ethiopians because we want to be connected to them, and we want to be connected to to Israel. So Israel, Egypt, Canaan, Israel, Egypt, Arabia, and Ethiopia. That's where we want to be connected to. That's it. We don't want to be connected to nowhere else. We don't want to be connected to West Africa. No. I mean, of course, we got Shakara and a couple of brothers out there repping West Africa hard body. But who is really pushing West and Central Africa? Who is doing it? It's not the popular people. It's the people who are in the trenches who is trying to show that the red, black, and green means something. What we did as Pan-Africanists did something. But hey, we don't want to be that. We don't want to be the guys that put stuff in their lip and walk around. And we're ashamed of the culture that they did. We're ashamed of wearing stuff through our noses and all that stuff. We're ashamed of the African culture. But we only like the northern part of Africa. We don't like the western central part of Africa. That's not too good for us. But that's where we're from. And we're ashamed of being that. Nobody's promoting Cameroon and West and Central Africa outside of, the Dagger Squad, outside of the Master Warrior Clan, outside of Ngozi and a few people. You don't find nobody promoting. It's always arguing over Egypt. We the Egyptians. No, you're not the Egyptians.
No.
You are not the Egyptians. You are not the Egyptians. Don't fall for the okie doke. You are not the Egyptians. But we don't want to be that. So I'm here to take on anybody, man. Let's go. We could get it in. I want to show something when you tell me I could share my screen. I want to share something with the family so that we could look at something and think about it and see what we're doing and why we feel the way we do.
All right. Let me go through this, and then family tree. If you want to join in, right? The link has been pinned at the top. Okay, it's been pinned right at the top. Join on in, to have your say. But right now, let me go into this first, and then we can have that discussion. Okay, so right now we're putting from James P. Allen's Egyptian grammar. Let's see. Show it to you. There you go. Let's see if you can see it on my screen. There we go. James P. Allen, Middle Egyptian. I have to actually find the PDFs for you guys so we can share on the screen. So, anyways, yeah. So on here, it discusses or states Herodotus' statement that the Egyptians were religious to excess, however, reflects a particular Western notion of religion. Let me see if I can just get it up. Big for you guys. Right. Separated, okay, Western notion of religion, one which, beginning with the Greeks, has separated religion from other spheres of daily human existence, such as government, social behavior, intellectual pursuits, and science. In ancient Egypt, there was no such separation. What we call Egyptian religion is nothing less than the way in which the ancient Egyptians understood their world, explained it, and related to it. It's philosophy, baby. The ancient Egyptians faced the same physical universe we do. Like us, they attempted to understand and deal with it. But without the benefit of our accumulated knowledge, they had to find their own explanations for natural phenomena and their own methods of dealing with them. The answers they came up with are what we call Egyptian religion. All right? So, let me skip it. Let me see what I skipped this one. Let's see. The power of kingship too was a god. Horus, embodied not only in the sun as a dominant force of nature, but also in the person of the pharaoh as a dominant force in human society. Our separation of religion from government would have been incomprehensible to an ancient Egyptian to whom kingship itself was a divine force. Although the ancient Egyptians could and did rebel against individual kings and even assassinate them, they never replaced the pharaonic system with another method of government. To do so would have been unthinkable as replacing the sun with something else. Okay, so let me just come off that right now. So I'm saying that just to let you guys know that in Kemet, there wasn't anything really as what we perceive religion is, right? It is a whole governing system that was put in place, right? And the closest thing that we get to what we classify as religion is what I call the Kemetic cult. Kemet, as a nation or as a state, had several cults within side of the state or the empire itself. You know, it would have the cult of Ra, it will have the cult of Atum, it will have the cult of Amun Ra, or Amun, sorry, it will have the cult of Ptah, it will have all of these different cities and towns and jurisdictions. They will all have their cult, a place of worship and adoration. So I just wanted to know, if you claim to be Kemetic, right? I want to know, what is your religion itself? What do you worship? What is your spiritual system? Let me know. I just want to know. I want to know these things, right? I want to know how you practice personally, how you practice your cult or your religion, whichever name you like the most, because some people might find the term cult to be offensive, but I'm talking about it from a strictly academic standpoint. Anyways, let me see quickly. Brother Musa, what are you saying, King?
What's up?
What's good?
What's up? What's up, people? Peace to everybody in the building.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So we're gonna get back into some information now, right? So my question out there is to just gave me your mic. Yeah. So my question out there is to like a lot of my Kemetic followers, right? What cult do you particularly practice, right? Because I would like to know. I would like to actually know this, and I want to know later on, right? I want to get into the debates because I know Garfield is here for it, right? Because he's gonna bring up some stuff to do with, the different religions and all these things here and the copying and that. And then I know he's gonna come in with something else. I want to get into that type of discussion, yeah, but I want to get into some real juicy information. But I want some Kemetic folks to come on in to do some sharing and some teaching as well, right? But it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So family, where you at? Yeah. Again, family tree, hit up the like button and let's keep it moving. Garfield, do you want to come in now?
Hold on 1 second. Let me see if this thing here is ready. But I had to reset this. It's right here. Yeah, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with my keynote, so I can't even share my screen, man. I can't share my screen. Lucky for these guys, man. Lucky for these guys. I tell you. Lucky for these guys.
Jeez. Okay, so I'm gonna go back in again. Let me see if I could add this to the stream. Let's go back. Let me drop some good information, right? So right here, I'm gonna pull from one of my favorite books. Yeah, and this one here is called Egyptian Solar Religion in the New Kingdom: Re, Amun, and the Crisis of Polytheism by Jan Asman. See, this is my guy right here. You know, when I hear other people quoting this particular author, I know you're onto something, because you cannot talk about Kemetic religion or Kemetic cult or Kemetic practices in terms of worship and adoration, yeah, and prayers without talking about Jan Asman. It's impossible. He literally set the groundwork, yeah, for what we know in terms of Kemetic religion, right, or Kemetic cultic practices. Let me see if I can go through some stuff with you guys real quickly. Let's see. Let's skip a little. Let me see if I can drop something with you guys. Let's see.
So in the meantime, Musa, what do you say, Musa? What are you saying? I want to hear what Musa is saying.
Yeah, Garfield.
What's up? You gonna throw me in the garbage? You gonna throw me in the garbage can today?
Do I want you to eat garbage can today?
I'm the cat, so you know I'm gonna be in the garbage all day. So what do you say, Musa? Do you think Kemetic systems is the predominant system that influence everybody's religion?
I think Egypt, Kemet, is the last kingdom to hold the information that was lucrative to us. I think ancient Sumer or Mesopotamia had a lot of information, but they didn't retain as much as Kemet. I think Persia had information. Yeah, I think that the Egyptians, out of all the ancient kingdoms, Egypt retained the most, and it's the why we.
What did they retain though? What did they retain that was exclusive? What system does Egypt have that's exclusive to Egypt that nobody else had?
All the principles, you know, the cult-like principles that are.
Nobody else had principles for Egypt. Nobody.
But remember, because all the prayers end with Amun. The Jews say Umain, the Christians say Amen, and
Amen.
The Muslims say Amen.
All right, watch this.
Pardon?
Aman and Amen is in the Bible, so we know who the deity of Egypt is because they do refer to the deity in Egypt in the Bible.
Yes,
they do. So Amen.
Egyptian.
Hold on, that is pseudo. Amen does not come from Egypt. It's a total different word. In fact, the word actually doesn't even spell like that. It's the sounding. You could tell because remember, there's no vowels. There's no
That's
vowels.
not true. That's not true.
Oh, we do have the sounds, but watch this. Amen. I'm gonna say it again. Amen in the Bible has nothing to do with ancient Egypt. Has nothing. You know how I know that? Because in the Hebrew, they write the Egyptian god Amen, which is really Ammon. It's Ammon. It's not even Amen. It's Ammon. But they write him in the Bible. In the Bible, you have it in Hebrew in both. You have the Hebrew for Ammon, which is the Egyptian deity. They're talking about him, and they have the word Amen separate. So it's not the same. Yeah, you're not going to believe that because you're coming from an Egyptomania. You're muted. You're muted, brother. You're muted. Come on. Let's get it.
Not Egyptomania. Look, Garfield, I know you're trying your best to, stray from the truth, but we have to deal with
Garfield's correct.
Yeah,
Garfield's correct.
We have to deal with the facts because the word Amen in its translation means to have faith. Is what I'm saying to you. The word Amin in Arabic is to have faith, and the word Amun, a word Amun in Egyptian hieroglyphics means faith as well. So I'm sorry to say, Garfield, what you're saying at this very point is fallacy.
Yo, can I tap in here?
Hold on.
Hold on.
Rashemsu, hold on 1 second. You just actually agreed with me. This is what I'm telling you. The word Amen. Boy, I wish my slides was working. Oh man, I would have beat this up. Now listen to me carefully. The word Amen is not the same as Amun in Kemet.
Of course it is.
Because we speak English. Hold on a second. Because we speak English, we want. How do you spell Amun in Egypt? How do you spell it?
A-M-U-N.
A-M-U-N. You could spell that in Egypt. Egypt got U and A. They got A and the U.
Of course I do.
No,
of course I do.
They have the vocalization, but the point I'm trying to make to you is in English we say amen. We say amen, but it's referring to a Hebraic word. Hold on a second. You see, this is the problem. This is the first problem, bro. We are become Egyptomaniacs where we don't even understand how cross-comparative linguistic work. But listen to me carefully now. Listen, brother. You already believe what you believe. I can't change your mind. Egyptomania got you already. This is what I'm trying to. Let me save you. Where does the word amen in the Greek come from? Where does it come from?
That's a good question. Tell me. Okay. Enlighten me.
Okay. The Greek term comes from the Hebraic term, which is amen. Now, hold on a second. Listen to me now. Listen, brother. Listen. Do you know that Ammon, which is the Egyptian deity, is in the Bible? Do you know that?
I've muted his mic. I've just muted everybody's mic, so he can't talk.
Okay. All right, let me finish my point. Ammon, the Egyptian deity, is in the Old Testament, and he's written in the same book that's called, in the same writings, in the same book, in the Old Testament, you got Amen and you got Ammon. But we know Ammon is referring to the Egyptian deity. So why they don't spell it the same way in the Hebrew transliterated? Because it's two different things, bro. Don't get caught up with English. You don't speak Medjugorje, bro. Ammon and Amen is not the same. Go ahead, Kalam.
Is it possible for our listening audience and watching audience to actually, could you give us the scripture? And I'll just bring it up.
My slides is up. My slides is up.
Jeez. Hold on. Okay. All right. Whilst you're doing that, let me get Ra Shesmu Heru up. All right. Shesmu.
Yo, peace and blessings, family. Sorry. So what I like to say is that first of all, see, when we decipher the hieroglyphics, it doesn't come with consonants. It doesn't come with vowels when it comes to the consonants. That's why you have variations in spelling, right? So the word amen, it does not mean faith. The word amen translates literally as hidden, because one thing that we as African people did was we didn't give a particular name to the deity or to the creator. What we did is that we identified specific attributes. So we use adjectives. So one of the main attributes or adjectives that describes the creator or the supreme being is that it's unseen. It is amen.
Thank you, brother. And by the way, you said Ammon means what again, brother? You said it means what, brother? You said Ammon means what? Hidden, right?
It means faith.
No, it means hidden, brother.
Hidden.
It means it's got more. It's got two meanings. It's got the faithful. It's got the faithful. It means the faithful and the trusted, and it also means the hidden one.
You made that up, bro. You made that up.
No, I didn't make it up. Of course, it means the hidden. It means the faithful and the trusted, and it also means the hidden one. You've got Amun, and you've got the feminine Amunet. All of that is written in Egyptian writings, bro. I didn't make up nothing. You see, when you are not well researched in your knowledge of Kemet and your biblical studies, you're going to separate and make these type of distinctions, but you're going to end up confusing yourself, end up in no man's land with no information, end up rejecting all these things. The cult of Amun went in many directions. The Libyans used to practice worship Amun. The many tribes in the Middle East used to practice worship Amun, because it's spelled Amun, M-U-N, or M-O-N, or M-E-N, or or A-W-A-M-E, Umain. However they call it, it comes from the same principle. Amun. Amun was one of the most popular gods in ancient Egypt.
Okay, family, hold on one second. Robert. Family Tree, if you're loving the show so far, yeah, I don't know what. You lot can't show no love. You lot should be smashing the like button, yeah? In fact, if you don't smash the like button.
By the way, I'm sorry. What you call it? By the way, let's give a shout out to Brother Onk. He got a debate with Sekou coming up about African spirituality and its influence on humans nowadays. So look out for that on Sarnetta Studios. There's a debate coming up with Brother Ong. I don't have the flyer. I forgot to download it so I could share it with the family. But that's coming up. All right.
Okay. Big up.
Yeah. So, hit the like button. Let everybody know. Hold tight. Let everybody know that we're live right now on Titans TV. And where's the super chatters? I don't see the love. Where's the matter? Where's the reciprocity? And Musa, I'm going to need you to mute your mic when you're not talking because it has a terrible noise, echoey noise in the background. All right. Oh, jeez, Miss K. Hey, Miss K, what are you saying? I want you to come on the panel because you was dropping some heat before. All right, Garfield, are you ready with the slides? Because right about now it's time to what do we say?
Let me get this right now.
Put up or shut up.
Yeah, exactly, man. Let me get this out the way right now and deal with this right here. Amen is not from Egypt. Amen is of Hebrew, not Egyptian origin. Amun is one of the most important gods of ancient Egypt, but is not related to the word Amen. The word Amen used in Christian and Jewish prayer is of Hebrew origin, not Egyptian. Dean of Yale University's Berkeley Divinity School told AFB by mail. McGowan said the similarity of the sound of Amun and Amen is a coincidence. There is no connection with the personal name Amun or Amen. Originally, the name of a local Theban deity who later becomes identified with the sun god Ra. Again, Jad Zawalowski, a professor of medieval Latin in the Department of Classics at Harvard University, agreed about the origin of Amen. If you look at the Strong's Concordance, it means truly. That's what it means. Definition: truly. Usage: verily, truly. Amen. At the end of sentences may be paraphrased by so let it be. It does not mean hidden. It doesn't mean hidden. And for those who are into ancient Near East languages, you could see the breakdown from the Ugaritic language and from the Hebrew and Aramaic lexicon of the actual word. It doesn't mean it. I'm going to say it again. It's an interjection, not a proper noun. As a proper noun, as an adjective, it means faithful. And you see that in the Ugaritic test. Trustworthy. In the Arab, amin, secure, faithful. That's what it means. A dictionary of the Ugaritic language. And when you look at down here, it says trustworthy or used, and you could see how it's written. I wish I could bring up the Hebrew and show the two words, Amen and Amun, or they're two different, the same words in the Hebrew. They're telling you the Egyptian god Amun, how it's written is not written the same way as Amen. It's something totally different. And you now have to prove to me linguistically that the word Amen actually is rooted in the Egyptian. You can't prove it. You're going to have to show and prove right now. If you can't prove it, I'm going to leave it alone. Let's show and prove. All right? And let me get to something else I wanted to show y'all real quick.
I agree with Garfield on this one.
All right, let me bring something up to the family real quick right here. Serious. Hold on, where is this thing at? Okay, here we go. Are the Egyptians the real kleptomaniacs? Oh man. So we look at how it's beside Egypt right here. And when you look at all the things that we find in Libya way before. Now, what's the most important thing in Egypt? Is the afterlife, the process of the afterlife, going in the afterlife, going underground and living with Osiris forever. But mummification, we find it right beside Kemet in Libya. We find it earlier, 1,000 years before we find the Egyptians practicing mummification. We find organ removal. When do we see organ removal? In the process of the dead, the process of reuniting the dead with the afterlife, they remove the organs out of the body and have it dry out for like 70 days. Then you have grave goods. Grave goods is what you wear to protect you in the afterlife. The rituals, we see petroglyphs, humans with jackal head in the cattle cult of Hathor. We see it in Libya. We see cattle bone. We see pottery, ritual offerings, stone circles, slaughter areas, and pottery and stone tools in the Sahara was dry. So most of the people that was there actually migrated to the to Kemet, to the Nile River. So this is mummification by the Libyans 1,000 years before Kemet. Right here. This child was embalmed, put in a fetal position, placed in sack antelope skin. His internal organs was removed, incisions, abdomen, and thorax. organic preservatives to stop decomposing, ostrich shell necklace around the neck as a grave goods. All this type of behavior and stuff that we see in the afterlife process of Egypt, we seen being practiced in Libya before. It doesn't mean that Egypt stole it from Libya, although they're right beside each other. I wouldn't dare say that. But I'm just trying to say that culture is being practiced way before we see Egypt practicing it. All right. That's what I wanted to touch on, beloved. And just to get that out of the way. All right. But we have dog heads and all that stuff on the walls. Right here. Dog head pics, humans with dog heads and all that stuff. We have all of that right here. All of that. We have the droughts, the Sahara, the appearance of megalithic monumental tombs and tumuli in the Nigerian Sahara as early as what? 4700 BC, and presumably much earlier in the Eastern Sahara. Clearly predates the construction of Egyptian mastabas and pyramids by a very long time. Such structures might have been the precursors of Egyptian pyramids and monumental architecture. So we see that in the Sahara, Nigerian Sahara, they're practicing all type of stuff right here. The earliest pottery in Africa migrated from West Africa to Egypt. The ceramics, we see the same thing that they're doing in Africa. We see it in the Central Sahara, Sub-Saharan Africa. We see them practicing the same thing in pre-dynastic Egypt from 9,000 years ago, 9400 Cal BC, by the way. We look at the watermelon seeds. As crazy as it sounds, our study implies that sweet watermelon originates from West, not Southern Africa, as previously believed. We look here. Alternatively, watermelon seeds may have been traded from West Africa to North Africa. The illustrations found in Egyptian tombs of watermelon served as a tray suggest that these fruits were eaten raw, perhaps as a dessert. Seeds found in ancient Egyptian tombs, including King Tut, should ideally be studied using ancient DNA approaches. So they found watermelons from West Africa. So the people are migrating back and forth, but everybody want to talk like the Egyptians are going in one direction and not the other. All right.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Garfield's coming with the heat. Wait, let me know what is this PowerPoint presentation for?
no, this was for the Jabari debate that I didn't get to do during the debate. Yeah. So this right here.
So you just stored up some information on us.
Yeah, so this is Mary. Mary is from Mary. Mary is before many gods like Mary, Amun, etc. So Mary, to be honest with you guys, Mary is a loan word drafted into the Hebrew. You see the brother talking about Aman and Amen earlier? Mary actually is the root of the term Miriam in the Old Testament. Mary is the most popular name in the first century. So Jesus' mother name in Mary is no big deal. It was just a popular name. But Mary is the root of Miriam. That is true. But Mary is used as beloved. So the beloved Amun, the beloved Isis, the beloved Asar. That's what Mary is in Egypt. It has nothing to do with the Mary in the biblical text, although it's the root to the term Miriam. So you see how honest I am? If something comes from Egypt, I have no problem with sharing it with anybody. All right. Look at this right here. Astarte known as Mary Astarte. And we find that the works of Kiko Tazawa, when he talks about Astarte in the New Kingdom, look at this. Instead of being a daughter of El in Ugarit, Astarte is designated as the daughter of Ptah and Re in Egypt, which again links Astarte with Anat and Kedeshet, who are also associated with Ptah and Re. Furthermore, these characteristics below implies that Astarte and other two Syro-Palestinian goddesses developed the association. Now watch this. In addition, Astarte is accepted as a royal goddess who supports and protects the kings of Egypt in the military scene, such as Amenhotep II, Thutmose IV, Seti I, Seti II, Ramesses III. Furthermore, some children, because y'all know Ramesses II had over 100 children, had theophoric names embedded with the name Astarte. Mary Astarte, beloved of Astarte. So that's what I was trying to prove, that the word Mary is used. But for those who don't know, Ramesses II had over 100 children, and he actually had sex with his daughters and had children with them. For those who don't know, he was actually what you call that? You call that incest. He was an incest king. So it was King Tut and all of them. They come from incest and all that stuff. They was having sex within their own family members, something that you wouldn't follow. Just for the record. All right. Let's go to the Ebla tablets, 2400 BC. What dates before? Yeah, you want me to stop right here for a minute? Let me
hold on. Stop right there. Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
Let me show
Let's
this
drop
real
in
quick.
some.
Let me show this real quick because they like to say that the Christianity stole from Isis and Osiris and all that stuff. But we have that figurine earlier, predating Egypt, in the Vinca culture, and we also have it in Mesopotamia, the mother feeding the child. So they didn't steal anything. Would you say Egypt stole it from these cultures? No, we wouldn't. This whole stealing thing is ridiculous. Cultures use other things all the time. It's no big deal. And let me get into the 10 commandments before I get off of here, because I got to get off.
No. You can't drop the 10 commandments yet.
Okay,
I'm saving them for a show. I need that for a particular show.
Garfield, you're reaching, bro. You're reaching. You're bringing
Hold
information, but it's not rooted in anything.
Before we do that, I want to get Shesmu Heru on. Yeah, the followers of Heru itself. Come on, let's go. Shemsu. I'm not saying Shesmu.
Peace.
I know somebody else called Shesmu.
So pretty much what I want to say, first of all, just want to deal with the word cult, right? Seeing that that's the premise of the show. So the word cult, if you look at the word cult and how it interacts with the word cultivate or culture, the word cult etymologically means to shape and mold and form and fashion. So when we talk about Egyptian cults, we got to move away from the modern day and contemporaneous understanding of the word, because it's being co-opted, right? The original meaning means to shape. So just as one of the brothers said earlier, you had multiple cults in Kemet. You had the cult of Amen, the cult of Heru, the cult of Het Heru, the cult of Osset, the cult of Sekert, and on and on and on. But these were more like universities, places where different individuals will go to learn about what? Well, to learn about themselves. So why do you need multiple or a differentiation of information in these various universities to learn about yourself? Well, don't we struggle with different issues? This one over here, he struggles with being at peace. He gets angry too easily. He's easily aggravated. Well, you need to go to the cult of Amen, because you need to learn about that inner part of your being, which is the origin of peace.
That's right.
You have this individual over here who doesn't know how to socialize with others effectively.
I got a question.
Anytime he or she has interactions with another person, it always turns into an argument. Well, you need to go to the cult of, or the university or the shrine of Het Heru and learn how to be joyous in your interactions, because it's all about ancient psychology and ancient spirituality.
Hold on.
Well said, Rob.
So if you don't,
let
me get a touch off of this real quick. I'm almost done.
Okay.
So if you don't know anything about yourself, right, then you can't be successful in this incarnation, because we come time and time again to learn about what? To learn about the meaning of our lives and the purpose why we're here on this planet. Isn't that right? So you talk about the Egyptian culture, the Egyptian religion, it was different for every individual. You talk about a holy day, Sunday's a holy day, or Saturday's a Sabbath. We never played that game. Each individual had a different day, had a different sacred color, and we would create different clans according to what you needed to work on to be a complete, functioning, and healthy human being.
Hey, Ra, do you have?
said, Ra.
Hold on. Do you have evidence of these schools? Are you talking about modern day Kemet stuff? Are you talking about ancient stuff that they had schools and mystery systems? Is that what you're saying?
Precisely, exactly. I'm talking about the temples.
Give me proof of this mystery school system. I'd like to see evidence of that. I'm going to take notes right now. Give me evidence of this mystery school system, because I believe it's made up. I think you made that up, or whoever taught you that made it up. So I want you to give me a source, just like I'm on the screen. I'm showing my sources. I would stop sharing.
Okay.
And by the way,
it's made up. I think it's made up also.
Hold on. By the way, the people who are saying that Ramesses II never had sex with his daughters, you could continue living in that dream world, because the Egyptians slept with their own. King Tut's family members were sleeping with one another. His mother and father was like sister and brother, and they slept with their daughters and created other children because they were keeping a unique, they're trying to keep it in the family. That was the norm for them. So if you don't know that, I don't know what to tell you. I could give you the source, but I'll save that for another day, because Ramesses definitely was sleeping with his daughters. Definitely.
Garfield,
Uh-oh.
Garfield, those Hebrew kings,
Testing,
they accused of
testing,
sleeping with their daughters.
I don't care about Hebrew kings. Who's talking about Hebrews? We're talking about Kemet today. You see, that's the problem. Y'all worship Kemet too much.
So there was a legend.
I don't give a damn
That's it.
about
What
the
they
Hebrew
did.
king.
What they did. You can't use that.
Oh,
What you're trying to do?
You're justifying.
You're trying to use. No, I'm not justifying nothing.
Would you screw your daughter? Would you? You sound like a.
No, I'm not new with it. Listen, what they what you can't
upon it. Bonafire.
you can't prove. See some of the things you're talking about. Some of the things you're talking about that they slept with their daughters. Hold on, because you're just shouting. Some of the things you're talking about, yeah. You can't prove that Ramesses. Can you have what other proof do you have that Ramesses was sleeping with his daughters, bro?
We have documents of that, bro. We have you know what?
Of what?
You know what? Kalam?
DNA.
Who's DNA?
No, hold on. Kalam, we gonna do that
Who's
for
DNA?
a show. That's a big show. We gonna do that for
That's a big voice show right there. You know?
Garfield, you shouldn't be there for that show.
It sounds like you're reaching, Garfield.
Oh,
all right, cool. Hold tight. Let me get
what you were saying,
let's get Zoo. Yeah, let's get Zoo onto this. Zoo, what you saying, my king?
Before I speak, peace to the panel, peace, Kalam, peace, brother Garfield, Musa, everybody. It comes back to kind of what you were saying, like Garfield is easily triggering people because of what he's saying. But what kind of weight are people putting on Ramses III as an individual for your spiritual path, or for whatever you putting on it? So I don't know. It's a weird position for me to be in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wanted to answer the question, not to cut you, brother, but I wanted to answer the question about brother Garfield was asking me if show improve. But when you're finished, I'll drop it.
Okay, I think he's finished. Go ahead.
All right. So if you look, see one important point that Garfield made is there is sort of this myopic or this intense focus on Kemet, not understanding that culture travels from place to place as a transfer of culture. We see Kemet as the culmination of many things that were happening in Africa, in and around the Nile. It's sort of like a culmination. It's where things really came together, but it's not the origin. And I think that's important to note, because there is a sort of, what do you call it? Kemet kleptocracy or something like that. But anyway, point being, check out this book called Bantu Philosophy by Placid Temples. And what he points to is that African people had a tendency to categorize things. What do I mean by that? I mean that every color had an association to a spiritual principle. I mean that every food offerings had an association to a spiritual principle, right? Every herb, okay? We also categorized life itself, going from the mineral level right up to the ancestral level, you know, the plant level, the mineral level. Everything had a certain amount of what the Zulu called ibwinge, right? Meaning energy content. And then when you get to the human being or sentient beings, maybe like a bird, you know, you have energy content coupled with a level of awareness or intelligence. So check out Bantu Philosophy by Placid Temples. You can also look over in Nigeria, right? I'm not going to speak that much on the Igbo, you know, Chineke and Chukwu. They have that science there as well, but particularly the Yoruba system, which has this tendency to create clans. So you have individuals who join a particular clan so that they can make a contribution to society in a healthy way. Because even the Greeks will tell you that the purpose of education is not to put information in a human being's brain. It's to bring out talents and abilities, to cultivate, to shape and mold those talents and abilities so that they can make society better. It's not about this infighting and me against you. It's about what contribution are you making? I don't want to talk too long though. All
right, family tree. Hold tight. Family Tree, if you're loving the show so far, you know what I asked for. It's simple. If you can't hit the donate button and hit up the Cash App, if you can't hit up onto the Snapchat, oh, sorry, not the Snapchat, the Cash App, all I'm asking you to do is hit the like button. Let everybody know that we're live right now on Titans TV and we're dropping some information. We've got some real knowledgeable brothers on here dropping some information. I'm about to share my screen. And again, hit the like button. Hit the like button. That's what I'm saying. Drop comments and hit the like button. We need the interaction. All right, cool. Let me go back into this, right? So earlier on, I was talking about, the religions or the cults. That's the proper terminology that's actually utilized within inside of academia for the devotional practices within inside of Kemet, right? So it says here, this is chapter 1 of Egyptian solar religion, I believe it's called, by Jan Assmann, The Mysteries of the Sun Cult. Family, just mute up your mic whilst I'm talking. It says here, Egyptian solar religion in the New Kingdom appears in tripartite form as a closely guarded secret cosmology, depicted in royal tombs as underworld books for the use of the king in the afterlife. The relationship of this cosmology to the sun cult, especially the hour ritual, is made clear in the treatise on the king as sun discussed below. I'm going to keep on going. As a set of hymns located in countless non-royal tombs, which praise the solar journey in the polytheistic form as a joint operation between the sun god and a personal sphere. Okay, and as a sort of monotheism that regards the sun as the natural manifestation of the uniqueness of God, and even precipitates a violent revolution in the form of the Amana religion. So my thing is, family, because I want to speak to people that say they practice the Kemetic philosophy and the Kemetic religion, right? And I want to speak to you guys in particular. I want to know, where are you drawing your sources from in terms of the practice, right? Because for me, if you're not participating in the daily rituals, right, how do you claim to be Kemetic? That's my thing. If you're not entrenched in the mythology of the solar circuit, how are you practicing your Kemetic religion or cult itself? Yeah, right?
They make it up.
So I want to go in a bit more, right? It says here, preliminary considerations. The simplest explanation for the standard text in the sense of models used in various contexts is that they originate in the temple cult. So there's a temple cult. Let me just keep on going. There was no congregation in Egypt to sing these hymns as a church congregation today sing hymns. The cult was organized and performed by a professional priesthood subject to strict purity regulations in the most secret parts of the temple, and except for processions with no members of the public present. However, though, hymns did find their way out of this cult into the wider non-priestly circles of the population. So again, we have the inner circle of the cult, right? Of the temple cult, the solar cult that was practiced. And you know who was able to practice that? It was only the kings and their deputies were able to practice that particular aspect of the cult. So for me, it's like, how are you practicing these things when you don't have a pharaoh, a king, number one, you don't have a temple economic structure, number two, and you don't have the scholars or the priesthood to enable you to conduct the rituals that's necessary? I'm always baffled, like, how do you do it, right? But of course, there is the exoteric side. And I don't see much people talking about the exoteric side and those practices itself. To me, it's like a new age phenomena that you're talking about. Let me see. Let me keep on going. Let's see what it says here. Nevertheless, hymns did find their way out of this cult into the wider non-priestly circles of the population. This paradox obliges us to make a distinction. The Egyptian sun cult was probably unique in having both a normal inner aspect common to all cults and an outer aspect from which wider circles were not excluded and which was not simply identical with the festival cults, right? And then it talks about here that, okay, let me go to this. The Egyptian expression for the inner aspect of the cult basically means to be inaccessible. If we translate this by the word mysteries, we have to dispense with some of the meanings of the Greek, e.g. initiation and anticipation of death and apotheosis of the initiate, and confine ourselves to the following two aspects: the secret the limited access associated with the mysteries, and the sechetao, the totality of knowing, speaking, and acting that is conveyed by the term mystery. The inner aspect of the Egyptian sun called its mysteries is constituted by a tradition that specifies what must be known, said, and done during the enactment of it. So I always want to know, right? Because in order to practice this, right, it's as I said, it's a gnosis. You have to first know and have the knowledge. It's an educational system, right? In order to now say and act. And I want to know, family, if you don't claim to practice the Kemetic philosophy and claim to practice the Kemetic religion or the cultic aspect of devotion and worship, I want to know, family, what is it that you guys do, right? I want to know, what is it that you guys do?
Can I get a touch off of that first?
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Now, what you read is very interesting, and the question that you're posing is equally as interesting. Very interesting. But it also is very limiting. When you're dealing with Kemet, you're dealing with a nation. It's nationhood. It's a highly organized and complex society. So the priests, yes, they have certain knowledge and certain information, scientific knowledge, right? When I say scientific knowledge, I don't mean necessarily science of how to levitate a stone. No, I'm talking about the science of the mind. Now, we see in today's society how people can be manipulated. The masses can be manipulated by those 10% or 1%, whatever the percent is, who has certain information and knowledge. Therefore, science of the mind was protected, guarded. You had to prove yourself to be of good character before you gained access to that information. But that is not to say that the information was limited in a sense to what a few people knew. How did they come into contact with that information themselves? Right? I think it was Bob Marley that said, they say that experience is the best teacher, but I say there's a natural mystic blowing through the air. What that means is, just as the priests gain that information some way, somehow from source itself, we too have access to that. And we already said that culture is transferable. So if we don't get the information directly from Egypt, we can look around the world and get ideas and get glimpses into that culture. That's exactly what we had to do. We had to understand other cultures whose writings and teachings weren't destroyed by Alexander, who wasn't that great. And we can look back to Egypt and try to understand the symbols based on what we see in Hinduism, based on what we see in Buddhism. That's what we had to do. But that information is no longer locked up with a group of priests. That information has been disseminated because the Europeans went in there, because they were so wicked, because they took it out of there. Somebody earlier on talked about Masonry and the Freemasons, etc., the lodges, etc. Our information is in the Europeans' libraries. That's why they killed George G.M. James, who wrote Stolen Legacy. He published it in 1952, I think. By 1953, he was dead. Unsolved mystery.
So why they kill him? What was the purpose of that?
Right. I just told you, because he was in the lodge, and part of being in the lodge or the Masonic order is silence or secrecy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But he gave it to our people.
But he was pseudo as hell. He was pseudo as hell, though. Why don't you talk about that part?
He was what?
What about the misinformation by George G.M. James? Hey, listen, I'm not going to share.
Well, let's not go into, if the individual was perfect.
I'm going to show you what the problem is. You call. As a matter of fact, finish your point. I'm sorry. My apologies. Finish your point.
I'm going to be real quick, though, because I appreciate what you're saying. I never heard that perspective before. But, I've read Stolen Legacy a few times. It's not to say that the book is precise and everything in there is correct. But in the 1950s, that was a big jump, a big eye opener for us. And he gave his life for it. Go ahead, though.
All right. I don't need to share because I'm almost out of here. The Stolen Legacy, the earliest descriptions of academies for Egyptian priests with large libraries and art galleries, in fact, first occurs not in ancient texts, but in an 18th century French work of historical fiction called the 1732 novel Cecil by Abe Jean Terrasson. Terrasson's novel was widely read. It had a profound influence on portrayals of Egyptian religion in later literature, such as Mozart's Magic Flute. Abe Jean Terrasson, in 1731, classicist and philosopher Jean Terrasson published his only work of fiction, Cecil's History or Life from the Monuments, Anecdotes of Ancient Egypt. The novel, set 2 generations before the Trojan War, is a biography of the Egyptian prince Cecil that describes his education, his initiation into a secret society of priests, his travels through Africa, and his eventual return to Egypt. Although the novel was initially only moderately successful, over the next century, 6 French editions were published in addition to 7 translations, suggesting that Cecil had a wide and varied readership. Mysteries. This is from Mysteries of Isis, Jean Terrasson, Cecil, and European Fantasies of Ancient Egypt. So now the Masonic ritual origins, in particular, initiation of Terrasson's hero into the Egyptian priesthood, served as the inspiration for Masonic rituals. It is understandable that the Masons in the 18th century, when these rituals were established, regarded them as both ancient and Egyptian, since they had no other means of knowing about Egyptian religion than from Greek and Roman sources and the later European accounts that were based on them. All authentic information about early Egyptian religion was inaccessible to them because the documents that described it could not be read before 1836, when the Rosetta Stone was discovered and hieroglyphics were finally deciphered. Now, can't read the hieroglyphics. It is certainly understandable that Terrasson was unable to distinguish Greek rituals from indigenous Egyptian rituals. He could not read any inscriptions or papyri that describe ancient Egyptian rites and beliefs, since they were written in Egyptian alphabet, such as the hieroglyphs or hieratic script, which no one at the time could read. Stolen legacy source material, The Ancient Mysteries and Modern Masonry by C.H. Vales in 1909. This is one of the main sources for stolen legacy where he gets his information from. But it goes beyond that. We find out that Plutarch couldn't read the Meganeda. The learned Greek Plutarch himself, an initiate in the Osirica, of which there was probably a Thyasus at Delphi, gives much valuable information regarding the mysteries of Egypt. Of course, he could only give hints. Epiphanius, as an outsider, could not be expected to understand the rites, and as a narrow bigot, he could not be expected to deal with them fairly. But the importance of the passage is the testimony it bears to the fact that one of the most widespread mystic festivals was connected with the rite of resurrection. You notice here the crowing of the cock, which is connected with the crucifixion of Jesus and so forth. C.H. Vale. So here we go now. So the made-up Kemet tradition. The Egyptian mysteries had 3 grades called mortals, intelligences, and creators of light. The mortals were probationary pupils who were instructed in the doctrine, but who had not yet realized the inner vision. The intelligences were those who had attained the inner vision and had become men and received mind. The creators or sons of light were those who had become one with the light and had attained to true spiritual consciousness. These 3 stages are called by W. Marshall Adams initiation, illumination, and perfection. This state could be attained while yet in the body and included the after-death consciousness as a part of its content. This is from C.H. Vale, the guy, the root to stolen legacy. But let me share this one part, bro. I gotta share this part. I can't read this part. If you could share that for me, I would appreciate it. The Craft of Amen-Ra made-up system, and that same system that I just read from C.H. Vale's book, the grades of students in the mystery system. The Egyptian mysteries had 3 grades of students: the mortals, the intelligences, and the creators of the sun. That is from this book. This is where Stolen Legacy got a lot of his source material from, where you talk about masonry and all that stuff. All right. So now we see it in the Craft of Amen-Ra with Ashra Kwesi. So now who is one of the biggest guys that was a part of the craft? This guy right here. Shout out to BK. Apologies for this slide. 2003, General Seti made his first pilgrimage to Egypt under Master Ashra Kwesi. Said he went on to take 2 more trips in 2004 and 5 for a total of 3 years, which after he was raised into the craft of Tehuti. So when we talk about people in the craft, is the craft what you think it is, or is it based on what C.H. Vale said? So when we say we know Egypt, what Egypt are you referring to? Are you referring to the version that came out of Stolen Legacy and from T.S. Tesseron and all these people, C.H. Vale, who got information from Tesseron? Or are we saying that this is from ancient Egypt? When you talk about speculative and the other version of masonry, what are you saying comes from Egypt? Because if you're talking about how to build stuff as a real mason, a builder, that's definitely rooted in ancient Egypt. I will definitely give them the props because ain't nobody building like them. Although they have people here in North America also who built, people in Turkey and people all over. But the ancient Egyptians definitely were masons as far as masonry and building buildings. But the other masonry, that ain't come from Egypt. I'm sad to say. And I leave it right there. I got to jump off. I got to start something on Clubhouse. But peace and love to y'all, man. I love y'all. And keep doing what y'all doing. Subscribe to Brother Garfield podcast. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, Stolen Legacy says Aristotle met Alexander after when Alexander was in Egypt. There was no Alexander temple or museum or nothing in Egypt built yet. And that's what our elders taught. They were incorrect. I'm not going to call them pseudo. I'm going to say they were incorrect. But Stolen Legacy, a matter of fact, I'm going to do a show on it probably Friday. If not this Friday, next Friday. BK Apologists did a show. I'm going to replay it and do commentary and show y'all. I'm not trying to say the elders are pseudo, but it's full of misinformation based off of C.H. Vale's book and based off of Tesseron, who Tesseron influenced C.H. Vale, and he didn't know nothing about Egypt, but they faked it in C.H. Vale book with the masonry, and then we gravitate to it because it sounds good and we love Kemet. So that's the misinformation about Kemet that I don't like.
Garfield, you're run and leave us.
I have to run because I got to start a room at 5:30. Right?
Yeah, I have information for you, man. You run too fast.
I'm sure I do. But Kalam, whenever you're ready again, bro, you know I'm jumping fire all day, every day.
Come on.
Yeah,
all day, every day.
But Garfield, what do you believe in? What religion you believe in? Before you go, what religion?
I believe my mother and father created a beautiful human being. That's what I believe.
No, Garfield is a Christomaniac, man.
Christomaniac. All right, call me whatever you want.
It's Christian, man.
Much love, Zoo.
Peace.
I didn't even know that was Zoo. Damn, shout out to Asari Motep too. His book is out. Look at the screen.
Facts.
We gotta support our own, whether we agree 100% or not. But he's trying to rebuild a legacy that needs a lot of correction.
That's right.
So y'all will read his works because it's a lot of pages, but take your time, read like a chapter every week. And read it to your kids. The brother is a smart brother.
That's right. That's right. We'll be having that brother. Hold on. We're gonna have that brother on next week, and then Garfield, you're coming on 2 weeks time, right?
Anytime you want.
Let me get to confirm.
Inbox me anytime. Right. Anytime.
Say less. Say less. Love. So yeah, family tree. Right now we're leading up to the Talk with the Titans. Talk with the Titans will be back. For those of you guys who are new here, Talk with the Titans is our flagship show where we get Titans on from the conscious community and academia to come on to be interviewed and to give a presentation on whatever they choose. Usually it's a book that they've written, or a presentation that they've done, or even debates that they've got coming up and speak around those topics. So I can't wait to get my brother Asai M. Hotep on. Hopefully he'll be here next week. We're just going through the dates right now. He's dropped a new book, and that book is like 500 odd pages long. Monster of a book. So when he drops stuff, it's like gold, straight gold. All right, family tree, what are you saying to me?
Yo,
someone want to speak?
I feel like Garfield kind of ended on a good point, or at least on a pertinent point to what you were talking about. You were talking about, if I'm not mistaken, you were talking about how people are engaging Kemet and how they're how do they use Kemet on a daily basis. And somebody brought up George G.M. James. Shout out to the ancestor, right? But at the same time, is it that book from the 1940s, 1950s?
I believe so. It's old school, yeah.
So even if I disagree with Garfield to some extent, I do have to agree with him a little bit. And he brought up actually a part where George G.M. James is talking about self-mastery and things like that. And I would love to show my screen if that's possible.
Yep, go ahead.
All right. All right, so I'm about to pull up this this
Everything is up in the building. What's good, King? DJ H Saul, what you saying to me? Ricardo Robinson, I see you. Jeez. Oh my God. You already know I'm a member of Team Osiris as well. Team Osiris on the horizon. Let's go.
I think a good question for people is like you, I think you even asked it earlier, like where do you go to get your Kemetic information? You know what I mean? And rarely do you hear people talk about like the Sebaid, you know.
I'll tell you, there's one important word that people should familiarize.
What's that?
Gnosticism. The Gnosticism has its roots in Egypt. Plus, there's also a study when the Egyptians converted to Christianity. There was a particular study, scholarly study or scholarship called Coptology. Christian Egyptians are called the Coptics. The word Copt is just another word for Egypt, but Coptology and how it had its roots in ancient Egyptian, because Egypt used to speak Coptic before the Arabs invaded in the 7th century, and they imposed the Arabic language on the Egyptians, just like the Sudanese used to speak Nubian until the Arabs invaded Sudan and enforced the Arabic language on them. So when you go into Coptology and you study all the knowledge of the Coptics, the Coptology and how they got their roots in ancient Egyptian thought, and you study Nubians, because before the Sudanese were Muslim, the Sudanese were Christian. And when you study the Nubians, Nubiology and how they got their roots in Kemet, and this is when you start to see some of the ideas. So you say, where do and how do you study Kemet? Well, the Coptic Christians still follow the Kemetic calendar. Although they're Christian, they still follow the Kemetic calendar. They still have Kemetic names for how they count their months and days. And so they're in a transition where they've adopted the Bible, they've adopted Jesus Christ.
That's a fact. People always forget about that. People forget about the Copts. You know, they preserve a lot of that tradition. That's the
correct.
case on most of the continent. And that's really what I wanted to bring up and why I'm sharing my screen, because I even heard the brother, I like what he was saying, but then he went straight to like he went to India and Arabia to understand Kemet, you know. And I think for even the scholarship, the Western and mainstream scholarship at this point considers ancient Egypt to firmly be anchored in Africa as an African civilization. That doesn't
100%.
mean you can't get, you know, insight from other places. But I strongly encourage people to really look into traditional African systems and don't be scared of the Abrahamic stuff that you see there. Right?
Come on, let's get into this. Come on, my brother. Yeah, Zoo.
Yes, sir.
I want you to go dive straight in, because what you're showing me right now, is getting me pumping right now, because what I'm seeing right now is the Medunetia. That's what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing a Kemetic practice right now. This is the cultic practice of Kemet itself. Somebody was asking me, I'll jump into the word cult later on. I think you gave a breakdown of it also, but was it Rash Shemsu actually?
Right.
But anyways, go into this, because this is what I want to hear, man. I want to hear some real Kemetic information. Let's go.
I won't. It's a whole presentation, but I won't do the whole presentation. But I'll break it down with like a few of the select slides. And I already know some people are gonna look at it sideways because we're comparing some words and concepts from things that are in West Africa and things that are in Northeast Africa, right? But we can acknowledge that, right? So we know that we got what is called Niger, Congo, Northwest Atlantic, even though it's considered a topological
Bro,
isolate.
I love you, but skip all of that. Get into the information, my brother. Come on, jump straight in because we ain't got long left.
All right, bet. So Diop already pointed out some cognate words for the term ma'at in Wolof, right? So he already laid the groundwork for that. But what I wanted to get into, because we were talking about George G.M. James and the concept of self-mastery, is to go into Wolof traditions, right? Who themselves have traditions about coming from the northeast part of Africa, Egypt in particular. And whether we agree or not, those traditions still deserve to be interrogated scientifically, right? And it just so happens that in Senegal, among the Wolof, there's a saying, mat jafena, means mat is difficult. What is mat in Wolof? To be right, to be righteous, to be exact, to be adequate, to be complete, to be whole, to be perfect, to be in order, to be harmonious, ready, fully developed, worthy, right? So some may be mistaken in thinking that these are just words that we are comparing, but instead these are whole concepts. Okay. So if we keep it moving, right, we talk about the Sebai. These are the instructions. These are the things that, the people that people call ancestors, the people that are ancestors wrote themselves and left, right? So it would be advantageous to look into that. So let's look at what James P. Allen has to say, right, when it comes to Ma'at. He says on the topic of Ma'at in Kemet, while commenting on the extant Sebaid Egyptian literature which extols Ma'at, James P. Allen informs us that these instructions include a wide range of advice, from correct social behavior to proper conduct towards superiors and subordinates. Their purpose is the transmission of Ma'at, right and proper behavior, both for its own sake and as the key to a happy and successful life. The individual who lives according to Ma'at is often described as ger. So, right, we know that there are no vowels, right? So it could be ger, gar, gur, less likely gur, but ger, gar, gor, right? So ger, the quiet man, the still man, that is the calm and self-effacing person, right? So it's an approximation that they're giving you because we're working with the English language, right? And Kalam, stop me at any point.
Keep going.
So the ger, the quiet man or the still man, that is the calm or self-effacing person, or rech, the knowledgeable man, or opposed to the wacha, the fool. Notice nothing about faith, the faithful man. We haven't gotten to that point yet.
You know what? You know what I like about that term, racha?
Uh-huh.
Is I'm sure in the Bible there is a term, right, that Jesus talks about called raka, which is to say a fool as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We might
Go
have
true.
to dive into that, brother.
Yeah.
So it just so happens, it would seem that James P. Allen's views are partially confirmed in the following, as we can examine this term from the Wolof lexicon and cultural standpoint. In the parts of this country inhabited by, and this is a quote from a famous Wolof Senegalese anthropologist. In the parts of this country inhabited by the Wolof, the right of property is recognized in someone by custom on behalf of the fact that it is either him or his ancestors who had cleared and founded the land upon which the village is settled, or that the inhabitants who live there farm the land under the authorization of the owner. In general, the blacks recognize that they are not originally, in the absolute sense of the word, from the regions in which they currently live. When they arrived, during a time which their memory has not been able to discern by one means or another, these regions were covered with immense forests. The more valiant or the bravest among them set themselves to cutting down the trees, cutting down the bush, and clearing out vast spaces where they established fields and sowed the earth. Later, other exoduses brought populations that lived side by side with them on the same lands. naturally recognizing them as having the rights of the first occupants of the land where they installed. Thus, Gor, as applied to the virtue which man can possess, comes from there. Primitively, it could have meant the one who has cut down or cleared to inhabit, cultivate, and live honestly of his labor, who owes not anything to anyone, basically a free man. Okay? Long story short, this term Gor is pretty much the term in Wolof society, in Wolof traditional culture, in Wolof indigenous culture, and if you want to call it the spiritual system, for someone who embodies the values of the culture, right? And what is Ma'at, right? And what did James P. Allen say about the term Gor or Ger, however you want to pronounce it? So Middle Egyptian, Ger, one who lives according to Ma'at, silent man, quiet man, the self-effacing man, the tolerant man. And I want to say that silent man, quiet man is really not, it's an approximation. Really what it is, it's the person who is self-controllable, who can control himself, right? And who is embodying Ma'at. Gor, one who lives according to Matit, which is Wolof cultures and values, which is really a variant of Mat or Mat. Restrained man, quiet man, tolerable man, honorable man, free man, one who prefers death to subjugation, slavery, and colonization. So in this presentation, I present basically the literature that is on this term, right? I present some of the African proverbs, some of the literature that we have on Gor, as a means to live an effective life, and essentially it's a term of honor. You feel me? So,
can I just ask something?
Yeah,
very impressive.
Please.
Why is this all relevant, really, when 94% of Wolof today are Muslims?
You said 94% of Wolof are Muslims, so why is this relevant?
Yeah.
That's a weird question. And it shows that you might not really be too familiar with Wolof culture. If you really know Wolof culture, a popular quote, even amongst academic circles, is that Senegal is 97% Muslim, 3% Christian and other religions, but 100% animist.
They say the same thing about Haiti and voodoo. It's actually the same expression.
You could say the same thing. You could say the same thing about Egypt. Egyptian people are all Muslim. Majority of Egyptians are Muslim. We could say the same question, like,
and why they're not
why they're not pharaohs?
I kind of don't,
because
like
the Egyptians are Arabs.
Yeah, like people don't understand. I think
mixed.
people actually do understand that a people's what we call religion and culture, which, as Kalam beautifully pointed out earlier, is really all those things in one system, or in a system of systems. So when those things get overtaken, that's part of people's identity, that's part of people's tradition, their history, their values, that is being upended, right, by another hegemonic force. So, why would it be relevant? Because there are many Wolof people, many Senegalese people who are Fulani, who are Soninke, who are Jula, whatever they may be, who are honestly tired of the BS and are looking into their traditions, and granted, we have people like Kalam, we have people, like all the people we got in the conscious community who are banging out this information. So people are waking up. I don't know why it's getting your panties in a bunch or what's going on, but
Haru, it's well said. It's like asking, it's like saying, well, Greek people today are Christian, but we know that ancient Greece used to practice animist religion. We know Italy today are Catholics. We know that ancient Rome used to practice animist religion. And so the same, and so on and so forth, with Egypt as well. We know they used to practice animist religion. They used to practice the gods and goddesses of Egypt. And then as history took place, and wars and invasions took place, that religion changed, and people became either Muslim, Christian, or Jewish. It's the same thing. But the heritage hasn't lost. So that's why Coptic Christians today, although they're Christian, they still follow a ancient Egyptian calendar.
So family tree, yeah. I want to know this, yeah. I want to know who else would you like to see on Titans TV in terms of presentations. I'm talking about academic work, right? Who else would you like to see come on Titans TV to give presentations, right? Let me know. Also, yeah, I want to get back into this because we haven't got long left. I wanted to cut off the show literally now, but I wanted to know, right? If you are Kemetic, I want to know what practices in terms of devotional, worship, and praise do you use in your day-to-day life that goes directly back to Kemet? Let me know, family. What is it that you do? So, for example, we've got the Muslims. They have their salats, they have their hajj, for example. These are cultic practices that they do. You got the Christians that go to church on Sunday and they do their praise and worships, right? You've got the Jews, they've got their Sabbath. They have their different festivals as well, but they've got their certain things. They've got the breaking of the bread, all these things, right? That they do, the candle, showbread, etc. Right? What is it that you do that you can root straight back to Kemet factually? Let me know, family. Let me know. If nobody ain't gonna jump in on that, let me welcome in.
I'm gonna jump in on
brother.
that.
Okay, go true.
Okay, so like I was saying earlier, right? African people, right? They have a proclivity for categorizing things, right? So, for example, you have in the Islamic and the Christian and the Jewish tradition, right? This idea of administrators, right? Or angels who are lower than the supreme being. Now, in every African tradition, when any human being is born, the first thing that is done before the name is given is which particular Netru, Orisha, which deity, which natural force was that individual in harmony with, or seeking to be in harmony with, or to learn about. Because as above, so is below. So to learn about a deity is to learn about what? Oneself. I said that to say this. Ancient Egypt was known as a soul. The Europeans call it different things, like solar religion or sort of like an astro religion. And what we do, or what African people do, was heavily dependent on reading the handwriting in the firmament. So studying astrology, right? Clocking the moon, right? And we know that each moon, particularly the full moon, falls in one of the 12 houses. You talk about daily practices, you have to talk about those sorts of things. When to begin an individual venture. You want to go into business? Well, you don't do a business deal during the dark portion of the moon. That's when you do.
Sorry. I don't want to cut the wisdom too much here. I want like a very short answer of what do you do or Kemetics do on a day-to-day basis, a daily thing.
I got a short
okay,
response.
so real quick, one thing I could say is that utilizing what we call words of power, or understanding that in the beginning was the word. And so harmonizing oneself again with a particular netru through the use of words of power is one of the essential and key components to living the spiritual life.
You're not answering the question.
Okay. All right. Let's jump on to who's it? Zoo next.
I'll answer the question. The two things I'm doing.
I think it was Zoo. Wait, Musa. One second.
Just
go
real
on, Zoo.
quick, for me, I always look into the African traditions, the modern, the African traditions that are closest to being modern. And one thing you'll see in Kemet is the journey of the sun, right? So I encourage everybody to look up the journey of the sun, and particularly when Aset engages with Ra and he tells her his alleged secret names for his four stages as the sun. and Ra is really just you. You know what I mean? So the 4 stages of the sun are really just the 4, you know, you could birth, your zenith, your falling, and of course the final and boss moment of all, you know, death. So in the Congo, that correlates to the 4 moments of the sun. I encourage everybody to look up that that right there. But that's just something that could pace you throughout your days, and you can correlate some of your stuff with that. And like the person just said, practice the laws of Ma'at. So that's some simple things right there.
All right, Brother Musa, your go.
Yeah, I've got these 3. I've got these 3 things: honoring your honoring your ancestors, drumming, singing, whatever. Sufism, and the third one what's the third one I would say? Gnosticism.
That's still not answering the question, though.
Yes, it is. Sufism is a practice.
Sufism is Islam.
No, Sufism goes back to ancient Egypt by way of the deity.
No, it doesn't. You're playing with words.
No,
you're playing.
You go and look at the works.
Playing. Sufis got nothing to do with Egypt. Nothing.
Yes, it does. If you go and look into the works of Mustafa Kadala, if you go and listen to the works of the Sufi mystic Dalnun al-Mazuri, if you go and look into the writings of these mystics, many of them Sufi mystics of Egypt, especially those of Egypt. If you go and look into the works of the writings of Dus Muhammad Ali, again, another Egyptian, and these are born native Egyptians who spoke Egyptian as their first tongue, they will tell you that Sufism is much older than what we think it is.
The Sufism predate Islam. Does it predate Islam?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. 100%. Again, we've been taught misinformation about history. We don't understand true history. History has been either watered down or distorted to give a narrative of what they think the past is. But the past is really more than what it is, because we are not looking at both sides or every angle of the historical context. We're only looking at it from one angle or this person's angle for their own
Musa, you're all over the place. In your belief, you're all over the place. A bit of this, bit of that, sprinkle of that, slice of this. You are, fam. Sufism.
If you know anything about Sufism, if you know anything about Sufism, yeah, and I urge you to do some more knowledge before you speak.
My knowledge of Islam is very good. You don't know. It's very, very good. Trust me.
Not on Sufism, is it? I know that.
Okay.
But listen, let me speak. Yeah, I know.
One mic. Wait. You spoken, Musa. You've spoken. Let me see. So anybody else that practices Kemetic philosophy and religion or cult on a daily basis, can you give us one thing that you do? If not, let me just get my brother Israel Doctrine in, and I'll give a little go myself afterwards.
Peace.
Israel, do you want to say
I would like to ask what people mean by the definition of the term religion, because to me, religion means divine service. There's other definitions up there, and there's other words that relate to religion. But religion has been bastardized by the atheists, and therefore, I don't think no one truly know religion is, because if it's a divine service have part of culture. Culture defines what is and what isn't, and it brings things into reality. We need culture like a fish need water. When you out of your culture and the rituals that are in your culture, then your divine service is off or your religion is off. So who is defining religion and how are we dealing with it?
Yeah, well said. Usually when we come on here, we usually give the definitions of the words that we are talking about. So we should really pull up the definitions that we're using. And I know we're using in this terminology, in this today, we're using religion as the definition within, you know, the Oxfords and the Cambridges and so forth, that definition of religion. But I'm not going to go into all of that right now. We will open it up so we can have them type of discussions. But let me say, for somebody who has taught Kemetic philosophy, right, as I said before, for a good many years, I think I've taught Kemetic philosophy for maybe about a good 15 years, you know. Good 15 years. How old's my son? 11 years old. He's got Kemetic name. So before that, clearly, it's maybe even longer than that. I didn't want to show my age by saying 20 years. So let me just say 15 years. I know I've taught Kemetic philosophy. So, in that being said, right, I've come across the fact that I really hold back talking about the cultic devotional practices, right? Because for me, as I've read out before, you need to have the knowledge before you can practice Kemetic philosophy, right? In order to practice the Kemetic cult or the Kemetic religion, you need to have the actual knowledge itself, right? And that's why I love, and I pulled out the fact that Jan Assmann talks about this, right? Jan Assmann, where are we? Let me get it. Where is it? Where is it gone? I can't even, let me see if I can share my screen. Screen sharing, make sure you click share on the modal thing, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, share screen, window, still can't get it. Entire screen. Anyways, I'll do this one instead. Hopefully you lot can see this, right? Let me know if you lot can see this. Anyone?
I can see it.
Someone say something. All right, cool, perfect. Yeah. So in here, you know, I'm just gonna keep on going down. So it basically tells you that okay, cool. The inner aspect of the Egyptian sun cult, its mysteries, is constituted by a tradition that specifies what must be known, said, and done during the enactment of it. They are in no sense identical, nor should they be confused with the larger blah 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 blah. Okay. So, anyways, yeah, I don't want to go through the whole book too tough, yeah, but it lets you know this is the treatise. This is literally the theological treatise that's written within inside of the House of Life, or within inside of the tombs of the kings, etc. Right? And it lets you know, in order to even participate within inside of the rituals, even the exoteric rituals, you need to have knowledge. It lists out 8 things that you must know. Right? Let me go through it. Okay, just mute your mics again, please, family. The text deals with the king as sun priest, i.e. the role of the sun priest as a function of Egyptian sacred kingship, which was then delegated by the king to local priesthoods of the sun god. The passage dealing with the knowledge of the sun priest is 20 verse, makes it the longest, constitutes the central portion of the tripartite text. A. It takes the form of a list in which the words rech, knowing or know, occurs. Okay, 8 times. It enumerates the object of knowledge and is arranged as follows. So for me, if anybody says they're practicing authentic Kemetic philosophy, and as I said, the key word is practicing what you know, right? I have to ask you these questions, these 8 things that is fundamental for you to know, right? And this is why I'm gonna have to start going out into the community. Yo, brother Jabari, let me know these 8. Yo, what's his name? Sarah, Suit, and Say, let me know these 8. I need to call out all of these groups that have got shrines, Earth Temple, shrines of this, shrines of that, and let me know these 8 things that you're supposed to know to say that you're actually practicing the sun cult, because you haven't been authorized by a pharaoh. But let me not even go there. But anyways, yeah, it says here, enumerates the objects of knowledge as is arranged as follows: the community of worshippers of the personal sphere of the sun god, the eastern bars, the words and actions of the eastern bars, music of joy at sunrise, opening of the gates of heaven, nature of the eastern bars, their biz or initiation or true form, and cheperu, manifestations as baboons, their home and positions during the solar journey, the boat crew on the solar journey, their words, the arcana of the solar journey, the morning appearance of the sun god, its birth, its autogenesis, I wonder if it says that, spontaneous genesis, there you go, Let's look at that. The secret door of heaven, the sun boats, the manning of the day boat, the night sun as great image in the night boat, the landing place and heput of the sun god. Right? These are the 8 things are key that you need to know to even participate, in the worship of the sun god itself. So I'm like, do we know these things? Do you know the key things that, hold on, I'm talking, my G. We'll go into that. So these are the key things you need to know. Then it goes on, I'm going to drop you some more knowledge, right? Because we're all supposed to be, those of us, you're supposed to be the Shemsu Heru. Jeez, just like my brother Shemsu Heru, Ra Shemsu Heru, who's on right now. You're meant to be the Shemsu Heru. So you're meant to be following after the king, right? And the king has been installed for these very reasons. So therefore, these things that has been delegated to you is also your responsibility. Those who participate in these rituals know that the things that the king has been given is also what you have been given to do. Because you can't even be a mortal and participate in these rituals. You need to transform yourself into a divinity to participate in these rituals. Let me go into this here. It says here, Ray has installed the king on the earth of the living for endless repetition and variable duration to administer justice to human beings and to satisfy the gods, to fulfill ma'at and annihilate injustice. He gives food offerings to the gods and funeral offerings to the transfigured. Right? These are the key treaties of what it is for a Kemetic religion or a Kemetic practitioner. You need to have these things ingrained inside of you, right? To satisfy ma'at, to fulfill ma'at, to destroy and annihilate isfet, which is wrong, evil, etc., 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 chaos, etc. These are the key things that makes it up, And when nobody talks on these principles, right, I say to myself, nah, you don't know Kemetic philosophy. You may believe you know Kemetic religion or cult, but clearly your religion and cult and your spirituality is not grounded in the actual text, of Kemet. It's not grounded in the principles of Kemet itself. And I just want to bring it back because Kemet is a beautiful philosophical system. I belong to various Kemetic schools, Kemetic fraternities, or those that claim traditions going back to these things, right? And these are things that I've learned. And I'm like, I don't see it. When I go out there and I look into the day-to-days of Kemetic teachings all over the YouTubes and people that I meet I'm like, no, but where is it? It's all New Ageism and it's all a combination of eclectic bringings together. It doesn't even go back into Hermeticism even. I'm like, come on, man, let's get back into the text. That's why I was gassed. I was getting worked up when I actually started seeing some Medunetia when my brother Ku brought up some stuff. I'm like, yeah, finally we're getting into some real Kemetic stuff. Yeah, come on, man, family, we need to do better, man. We need to bring it out.
We're in the age of the grift, Kalam. Everybody's pulling the grift card. No shade to my people that I mess with. You know what I'm saying? But it's out here. It's out here.
All right. So I think it was Brother Musa that wanted to speak before. Brother Musa, what did you want to say? But anyways, so I would say, the first thing, of course, is the knowledge. You need to. So hold on 1 second. You need to have the knowledge in order to practice Kemetic philosophy on a daily basis. You need to have the knowledge, right? That's number one. You need to know, the solar journey itself, right? You need to know that solar journey. You need to know, and in order to be a Kemetic practitioner, you need to know the mythology, the divine itself, because you're putting yourself into a system. It's like you're putting yourself into a fantasy world. I don't even want to say a make-believe world, but you need to, in order to really practice Kemetic philosophy, right, in terms of its practical application, you need to put yourself into a form of the mythic dimension where you can see the mythic. You could see the icons and the constellations taking place in the skies. That's what I love about Kemetic philosophy, right? Because unlike other religions, right, let's say Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, you rely on the book. You rely on, let's see, I can't add you to the stream yet, Yochanan. You rely on things that can be changed. But when you talk about Kemetic philosophy, right, your God, God is such a loose word, right? But you're looking at the skies itself, the day sky, the night sky, right? You're looking at the reoccurrence of this solar journey. You're seeing the sky being born, right? Just before sunrise, till it comes up into sunrise. You adore it at sunrise. You go through that whole journey up until noon where it's battling. You're looking into the sky and you're seeing it right now. You're seeing the battle take place with a pep. You're there battling with the gods, fam. Do you know how beautiful it is, yeah, to actually be part of that whole system? Like, you're there battling, fam. You get me? Man like Set also took his with you. Yeah. Every man is just daggering. Yeah, there's that whole journey that's taking place to the point of sunset when Ra himself sets in the west in the mountains, right? That mountains of the Manu Mountains itself, that whole land of just stability and just endurance and sameness, and you see it, and it's being towed by the western bars themselves, the jackals. That's why I even put up Anubis up on there, like all of that. Do you know how beautiful it is to kind of see it? The mythic take place every single day. Then you got the nighttime and then going into the Dawat and all sorts, right? And the reunification with Asar, Ra with Asar, and Heru coming into being, the regeneration, the rebirth, the passing on the baton from one generation to the next generation, the inheritance, knowing that after you are gone, your son has to take it on. You have to pass on that car to your son. That spirit, that life force energy onto your son, so he keeps you alive for the next day, just the same way you kept Ra alive, yeah. In the first light of the morning, your son has to keep you alive, keep your memory alive. You know, sit down with you, and have food with you. God damn, like, do you know how beautiful it is?
Can I add on real quick? Can I add on?
Bad. Let me come out. Yeah, I'm gonna come out so I can get Yochanan on. I'll be away for a hot minute so you guys can have a conversation. Yeah, so let me just come out and you guys have a conversation.
I'm gonna wait till you come back.
Mazel tov. There's Mazel tov.
That's just what's up, man? Peace, you can.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say. Okay, I was gonna say, because ancient Egypt is a fallen civilization, it'll be very difficult to have a complete Kemetic lifestyle today because nobody's walking up and down Egypt as a pharaoh anymore. So we just got to deal with the reality that today people are living their lives according to the religions of today. Whether it be Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, whatever. The major religions today are what they are today. And then you've got the ancestral religions, like you might have a voodoo or something, but those are practiced in different lands. Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Haiti, they're not being practiced in Egypt. So I think Kemet exists within the writings on the walls and within the papyrus, and those who carry its legacy with the spiritual societies they belong to, and Sufism and all these Gnosticism, that they carry the legacy of ancient Egypt. But ancient Egypt as a living religious system, like in the days of the pharaoh, we can honestly say is no more.
Yeah, I remember back in the 80s, maybe in the 90s time, there was a time where I remember, at least with the the Black Americans, they had there was like this push for Egyptian culture, and they were wearing the ankh and they were doing all this other stuff, and I just never really brushed up on what exactly was people trying to reconnect with, because it's one nation out of many. So are we now
I think
saying
that's
like everyone else is
you
possible?
it started really with the scholarly class, you know what I mean, and then went out into the other population with scholars like Joseph Ben Yochanan, you know what I mean. But essentially, I think a brother even said it here earlier. You know, Egypt, West and Central Africa not only are they not as well excavated as Northeast Africa and the Middle East, but the environment doesn't preserve certain materials like it would in the Middle East. Not that they're not things there; they're like incredible things there. You know, the Wall of Benin. There.
Hello, you're cutting out a bit. Hello.
Yeah, I think he cut off.
Yeah, he cut off. I'd say that. Yeah. I was thinking. You're kind of. Was you referring to the Nawabians?
I don't know their names. I'm not well studied on.
Dr. York and them.
Nah, not the Nuwapians. He's talking about like you know, like the precursors for Jabari and those people. Their teachers. You know, that's what he's referring to. That era in New York. I remember it too, actually.
Family tree.
While we figure that out, I just wanted to add on to what Brother Kalam was saying before he left. And you see, just for the people listening, right? There's a huge misunderstanding and a huge misconception, right? And it began with the Europeans about this thing called the sun god. Never existed. And we confuse Ra with the sun. Ra is not the sun. If you look in the Medu Neter, Aten is the sun. That's the word we had for sun. If you look at the hieroglyphic or the Medu Neter, the symbol for Ra, it is the sun with a serpent wrapped around it. That serpent was called Ku. So Ra is a combination of energy on the one hand, Ra, and wisdom, the serpent, Ku. Even the Bible tells you there are multiple serpents. Some that you want to trample underfoot, like the serpent in Eden. But the Bible tells you in other places that you have to be as humble as a dove and as wise as a serpent. The serpent was not considered to be evil in all cases. So Ra, it talks about knowing the revolutions of Ra. What is a revolution? It means to turn, to change. So it's not the actual literal sun worship that the Europeans give us. Ra was a symbol for our spirit. That's where my name comes from, right? Ra. It's indicative of an energy system. And that energy system, much like the yin and the yang, it's not stagnant. It changes just as the seasons changed. And the meaning of wisdom was to know the changing seasons in your life.
Yeah. Okay. Israel, quickly, let's go. We're getting over the 2 hour mark, so everybody, quick one-liners. Let's go.
He said no son died. No son died, but even that was a netta root. A son, that's a netta root. So how you don't have a son netta?
That's an interesting point, sir. No, the sun was never a netta root. The sun is not a netta root means a deity. So you have deities, right? Like for example, Osar or Seer is a deity. Sekerd is a deity. Ma'at is a deity. Tehuti is a deity. Herukuhuti is a deity. Heru is a deity. Heru is a deity. Sebek is a deity. Osed is a deity. Ra is not a deity. Ra is a concept that we use to describe the supreme being. It's a concept. So a deity, right? You can't worship the sun. Nothing will happen, right? What you can do is you can identify parts of yourself. You know, like in Western psychology, you know, if you ever read, for example, Carl Jung, because I think Kalam is your name. You have in Western psychology, Carl Jung or some of the others, they talk about different parts of the psyche, right? They talk about the shadow, they talk about the id, they talk about the luminous, the zos. So these are different parts of yourself. If you learn about them, you can master them. But Western psychology is nothing but an offshoot or regurgitated version of African spirituality.
All right. So what we're going to do, family, because I want to get this pushing.
I'm going to sign off right now, but so I want to say peace to everybody. And, you know, thank you for allowing me to be part of this discussion. It's a great discussion. And, you know, I mean no harm. I didn't mean to offend nobody. You know, see a few people, you know, got caught up in their feelings and whatnot. Everybody has knowledge and wisdom to share. You know, I'm here to learn from everybody. Everybody, you know, we should learn from one another and greet each other in a spirit of love and peace, because we are not each other's enemies. At least we should not be. We have a greater enemy out there. And when you meet a brother who has a little bit of information or a little bit of knowledge, don't shut him down. Don't let your ego, isfet, overshadow your sun, your light. Your light shines anyway, irregardless of if you want to step on another man's back to raise yourself up. So we have to master ourselves, be humble. All right. Peace and love.
Peace, King. Peace. So again, I want to make sure I get everybody to have some good conversations, because the time is running by. You know, quick little, because I know I need to say certain things at certain times, because people are going to be like, oh, God, why didn't you say? So Ra, technically the brother has got a point when he talks about Ra actually is not a deity, because there is a hieroglyph that says Ra, which is just the sun, but then there is Ra, which is actually a deity. So a bit yes and a bit no. So Ra as a symbol, just like a sun with a little dot or a little line, is sun just meaning the sun, and then Ra with the divinity behind it is actually a nature. Anyways, let me just quickly continue. Let me quickly get everything out that I missed. Callum, is it fair to say to practice this philosophy, you must speak in that tongue? Do you know, I want to say something that's very, very controversial, right? Very, very controversial. I would say to you, in order to practice, Kemetic philosophy, I say Kemetic philosophy, but I am really not speaking the correct truth. It's not proper ma'at. It's Kemetic philosophies, just as is Kemetic cults. So I would even put forward, this premise right here, which I want everybody to fight me on this. I would even put forward the notion that Judaism or Israelitism or the theology of that is also part of Kemetic philosophy, or is a Kemetic cult, right? You have Sudanese cult, you have Greek cults, you have Crete cults that are all part of the Kemetic state or Kemetic country or the Kemetic empire, right? And they all speak different languages within their various different cults. It's not monolithic at all. So you could speak another language and still be able to be part of the Kemetic philosophies or whatever the case is, but you would get a better understanding, a much better understanding, if you're able to read and articulate the Kemetic or the Medu Neter itself. You would definitely get a better understanding, because within inside of the Medu Neter, within inside of the literature itself, there's so many nuances that you would completely like bypass if you're not reading it within inside of the language. Okay, there's a lot of what Egyptologists call word play or word links, and you will never catch those things if you're not reading it within inside of the language, or if you're not seeing the syllogisms that's being used, and you will need to understand how can I put it? They've got thought couplets and thought triplets. There's so many different things that if you don't understand the language and the grammar, you will completely bypass and miss completely. But if you understand the language, mate, it will just take you to that next level. Let me quickly go and let's get back to the text. 100%. Surah 961, read or profit in the name of your Lord who created. Aye, we need to do some Quranic studies. I miss those days. The average Egyptian was illiterate, 100%. Let's quickly go through this one. I love that one. Let me just go through. I'm skipping. Apologies if I don't read out your message. If you want to get your message read out, best and easiest way is to hit me up with a super chat, or simply tag Titans TV and drop your questions or comments. So let me open it back up again. Let me hide this comment. And whoever's got a question or comment that's here live on the panel, start speaking. And take into consideration, I want to close the show down in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Right?
I forgot what I was even talking about earlier. I got cut off with the internet and everything, but peace to everybody. Peace to the brother that just left. I'm gonna just hang out and hear what everybody got to say.
All right. Okay.
With the Kemetic language, is that associated with the hieroglyphics? Anything like that?
Yeah, the Kemetic language. Well, you know what? We say Kemetic language and we say hieroglyphs. The Kemetic, there's languages within inside of the Kemetic country or the Kemetic state throughout the past 3,000 years, and there's various different scripts. The one that is honored the most would be the hieroglyphs or the sacred scripts or the words of the Netzach itself, and those are the ones that are the pictographs that you will find on monuments in particular, because they're supposed to outlast everything.
And this is the time of the pharaohs and whatnot, right?
Yes.
So how do we have any evidence for exactly how the language was spoken?
Do we have any? We have the last form of the Egyptian language or the Kemetic language after the pharaohs would have been the Coptic language.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
If that's the case, why aren't, at minimum, the people who follow or practice Kemeticism learning at least Coptic? Because it is still a spoken living language today.
I don't know if Coptic is actually a living language.
Yeah, it is.
As far as I know,
Coptic speakers here in Sweden. There's lots.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's not a spoken language like that. As far as I know, I could be completely wrong in terms of books
Callum, it's a liturgical language. They use it in
it's a liturgical. There you go.
They use it in religious services.
No, I know Copts
there you
who
go.
speak Coptic as their language at home. They speak it like we are speaking English right now at home. I know Egyptian Copts who do that today.
Yeah, I wouldn't deny the fact that there most probably are Copts that can do that. Just like you can learn Latin and you can create a group, or you can have groups of pockets of people speaking the Latin tongue, but technically speaking, it's a dead language in terms of the classifications of languages.
I think the same thing kind of happened with Hebrew, right?
Mm-hmm. Hebrew was a dead language until they tried to revive it.
Right.
Well, Hebrew survived always as a liturgical language. Because all Copts essentially are Christians, all of them, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
Here we have, in where I live, we have lots of people from the Middle East, from these various small groups of people. I mean, I know people who speak Assyrian at home, Coptic at home. There's lots. These languages, okay, they might be small, but they exist as spoken living languages. And in their religions, like the Assyrians, I know, who practice Syrian Eastern Orthodox in their churches. Obviously, they speak Assyrian in their liturgical sermons, but they also speak it at home. I mean, to each other in the pizzeria, industry. That's the language they speak.
Yeah. I definitely met a few Coptic. I actually had a Coptic professor at one point in time. But man, it's just like it's an African language, and it's related to other African languages. And from that standpoint, we're able to gain a lot of insight into the mind state of the ancient people. you know. And there's scholars that have been contributing to that for a long time, you know. And to be honest, most people that I know who take the study seriously, to a certain extent, also study Coptic to some degree. And the people who don't are getting their information from the people who do study Coptic.
Kalam, I'd like to know what is the end game for all of this resurgence of, you know, pharaonic religions and traditions? What would you like to see happen? Would you like to see it become a standard for Black people, or what is the end game? What do you see?
The way I see it is, just as the Europeans had a renaissance, I believe that whoever, regardless of actual race, which is going to be, oh sorry, ethnicity, which is going to be a bit, how can I put it? Yeah. Regardless of ethnicity and other things that separate people in terms of gender or sexuality, right? Regardless of it, if you were to use that philosophy, right, and fused it with what we have today in the modern world, I believe that we could create a renaissance, especially, let's say, for the Black community who desperately need it in terms of having an identity and a workable culture. I think you can create a renaissance for Black people with this, 100%.
Why do we need it? And not all Black people's ethnic root is Egyptian. It's just, you know, Africa's a continent, it's not a country.
As I said, the Europeans, they utilized Greek philosophy, right, for their renaissance. It's not to say that they were Greek. They utilized the philosophy, the writings and teachings of the Greek, the culture of the Greek, the arts of the Greek to create a renaissance, a renewal, an enlightenment period, right? That's what they used to springboard themselves. And I'm saying, as, you know, so-called Black people, I don't really care for just Black people alone. For more than just Black people, you could use that same system, same model that the Europeans did for enlightenment, to create a renaissance for yourself as well.
Okay, I guess the second question would be, why do we need a second enlightenment based on this philosophy over, for example, the Greek one?
Well, during that enlightenment, we were enslaved, so
but we're not anymore.
That wasn't our enlightenment.
You and I live by that. You and I live by their enlightenment right now. You and I live by that enlightenment, and we're free men today.
That enlightenment is still left to be seen. Honestly,
I honestly don't think that, you know, Black people. Let me speak on the Black community. The Black community in general across the world are completely oblivious or don't have any, I don't know, they are not part of that so-called enlightenment and that renaissance. Which Black community or grouping of people uses Greek philosophy wholesale? I don't know.
Isn't our entire existence a way of life based on this?
That's part of the issue. To be honest, Kalam,
yeah.
The issue. Say, I grew up in Senegal, West Africa. I took a Greek and Roman class in high school before I even heard about Medu Neter, which is on the African continent in the country of Cheikh Anta Diop. If you don't see that as some kind of paradox, at least some kind of irony, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? And the hegemony that we're experiencing right now is alienating a lot of us towards things that are proper to us. You know, and I think that it would serve any human being to align themselves with things that have proven to be efficient. Not only that, but are also aligned with them culturally, psychologically, and the rest.
Because I want to know, how many Black people do you think have read 2 books? Actually, let me give you 2 books. How many Black people do you think have read Herodotus's History? 1. And what's it called? What's it called now? the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey?
Not many.
Definitely not.
Not many.
Equally could be said about any other race of person. That's not unique to black people.
Yeah, but that's to show that we haven't really been touched by the Enlightenment. We haven't really been touched by the Renaissance. The Europeans in the 17th, 18th century, whatever it was, 17th century, used Greek philosophy and Greek culture and Greek literature to uplift themselves.
Indeed.
Right? But you say that, you know, we utilize it. We don't utilize it. Black people, we don't read the classics. We don't know nothing. How many of us know about the liberal arts or the trivium?
No, we don't.
I don't think any. I think the only people that may even know such things as that is either studied humanities in university or are part of a Masonic order. That's the only two places you're going to hear about those things there.
That's
and I'm
correct.
telling you, if black people, regardless of Egyptian stuff, right? If we just took on the trivium, the trivium, that's grammar, rhetoric, and logic, right? If we just took on those three things, like, the world would be amazed by us.
Mm-hmm.
Real talk.
I can't even lie. I went to
agree.
speakers corner just using a bit of logic, learning a little bit of, you know, informal fallacies, fallacies, a little bit of, you know, deductive reasoning, etc., etc., etc. Like the very basics of philosophy, right? Of Greek philosophy, even. And, you know, I'm running rings around the majority of the people there.
Okay,
because most people haven't been touched by philosophy.
But Kalam, okay, if this was all wonderful and so enlightening and it was a benefit to the world, etc., etc., it's gone, and it's gone for a reason, and it was replaced for a reason. So should we try to revive what is dead, essentially?
But look at that. The Europeans were in the Dark Ages because they didn't have Greek philosophy. If we didn't now if the Europeans didn't get a hold of Greek philosophy, like, we would still be in the Dark Ages. Or Europeans would still, well, we may still be in the Dark Ages. They might have still enslaved Africans and so forth. And, you know, it would have been a mess.
Okay, Kalam, I was raised being told by, you know, black teachers, and I used to go to Speaker's Corner when I was a kid also, for many years when I was a young man. And I remember hearing a brother called Ishmael used to speak down there. There's one sword brother named Ishmael, you know, and even when I read my books today, it says this, you know, essentially the books written by black writers and black, I'm going to call them revisionists, some of them, but they say that the Greeks, all their philosophy is based on Egyptian philosophy. So in theory, isn't European philosophy Egyptian philosophy repackaged?
You can say that it has its origins, but Greek philosophy and Egyptian philosophy, you know, they have their differences. The Greeks spoke or wrote their philosophies in prose, where we had it in what's the opposite of prose again? Sorry,
cons.
No, not pros and cons. PROSE. So we had ours in like poetry, basically. We like, if you read our treaties, like our stuff. Yeah, our stuff is storytelling and mythos, and you had to have been part of the schooling system to get that left brain education. How they have, how can I put it? How they have kept it in terms of the hieroglyphs, definitely speaking, is very poetic and very mythic, right? Yeah. They do have treaties written in scientific documents, right? But very little has actually stood the test of time. But with the Greeks, they came with something completely different. They took what we had in terms of Kemetic philosophy, they learned it, and they put it in very concise, logical treaties that's passed down. So you wouldn't need to be initiated or part of the schooling system to learn the secrets, so to speak. I say secrets, it's not really secrets, it was just contained to a narrow grouping of people.
So they made something better, which is still based on Egyptian understanding. So therefore, how are we begrieved by something that is essentially Egyptian? Because when you read, I got, I don't know, 100 books on this topic, and it will say, it was taken, all of it was taken, they just plagiarized, they blah, 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 blah. If that's the case, we have no argument.
Well, if I may, I just showed you how in Senegal, West Africa, they have an identical honor system and conception of culture and formation of human beings. Like in Egyptian, it's called Ked, in Wolof, it's called Kud, character. So you're saying that the Greeks made something better, but that's an assumption. When we look at the text and when scholars well above my pay grade look at the text, they not only see the things that Greeks put in there, some of the things that Greeks put in there, right? So the Greeks didn't make everything up. We know that. We can't say that. But they also see things that the Greeks either omitted or didn't have access to, that Egyptologists are still pondering about. So I don't understand why your argument would be for us to throw that away and just accept the narrative that is already struggling.
This isn't my argument. I'm saying to you, this is what I've read in books written by respected black teachers throughout my 50 years of being alive. And I've read many times that essentially Greek philosophy was all plagiarized from Egyptian philosophy and understanding. And if that is the case, then we really have nothing to say. If it just repackaged Egyptian philosophy. This is not what I don't believe this. This is what I've read. This is what they say. I don't believe this at all.
Well,
but that's what they write. They write.
Greeks themselves write about that. They themselves say that they learned and their scholars learned in Egypt. But
exactly. So what are we crying about?
I don't think that's the point. What I'm saying is we already have systems that tie themselves to Egypt in West Africa in many different kinds of ways, whether we're talking about the Green Sahara, direct transmission, or however you want to look at it. So in a way, your argument kind of is, why are we looking at ourselves? Why look at ourselves? Why don't we just look at what
that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Of course you can look at what you believe is yourself, but I'm saying to you, if you believe what the majority of those writers from the 60s through the 90s were saying, they're saying it was essentially all plagiarized from Africa anyway. And therefore, if that is the case, what are we crying about? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Greeks are not
African. That's false though. That's false though.
I'm trying to explain to you. My bad, Kalam. I'm gonna just end with
no. I'm just gonna say that the 60s to the 90s authors are false. They are doing that same fallacy again. The Greeks never plagiarized from the Egyptians. Fair enough. For me, we have to start giving people their own credit, right? Like the Greeks, or certain Greeks, claimed to have learned from the Egyptians, right? But it's not to say that just because I've learned from a group of people, I can't, create or invent my own thesis to teach something to my people. So it's like, I don't ever want to say that they plagiarize anything, because they don't claim to plagiarize. They claim to say this is where I learned. Plagiarizing is saying you're not stating your source and you're passing off information as your own, or you're copying information, pass it as your own. Greeks, for as far as I can tell, never strictly copied any information, and they never tried to pass it off as their own. The delineation of information is completely Greek and completely unique to the Greeks, right? We have to start giving cultures and societies and civilizations their props. Greek philosophy is Greek philosophy, and we commend them for their philosophy, and we appreciate their philosophy, and we are thankful because we're able to learn about Kemet. For those of us who care more about Kemetic philosophy, we appreciate the fact that they stored certain information and they passed on certain information that we can learn from. We should never take away from another culture and come with these type of things as plagiarized and all them nonsense there. I don't personally agree. Somebody else, if that's what you want to do, you can do that all day long, but that's not for me, man.
I agree.
I love history as a whole, world history as a whole. Like all of that nonsense, the racist ideologies, like I ain't got time for it personally, Like I'm
100% agree with you, and that's what I've always believed since I was a young man. But I'm saying to you, when you read black written books, they don't say that. They say plagiarized, stolen, blah, 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 blah. But I agree with exactly what you just said.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay. All right. So there's no argument then.
There are some Greek accounts that accuse people of taking things and not giving credit, but people have to prove that who make that argument. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, Kalam, it's a claim. You know what I mean? And yeah, people got to prove it, and it goes back to the whole tradition of really being knowledgeable, and that's really what it's about.
Yeah. Do the Egyptians now speak the Kemetic language? I don't know what language they speak in Egypt.
Egypt
they
right
speak
now.
Arabic
No,
and
they speak
Coptic.
Egyptian. They speak Egyptian Arabic. Yeah.
Egyptian Arabic and Coptic.
When they're
I don't
not
know
busy
about
blowing
Coptic.
up
I don't know
Coptic
if
churches, that is.
Yeah, I don't know if they speak Coptic, but some people. I mean, my brother Zizi says that some of them speak Coptic, but as far as I know, they speak Egyptian Arabic.
They do speak Coptic as well.
Is there a reason why or I don't want to speak for all, but it seems like there's a rather large segment of them that seem to have a revisionist history in that land of what the people had looked like before?
A revisionist history. Sorry, go on.
The Arabs are invaders. The Arabs are invaders. They invaded in the first jihad. Before that, there was no Arabs in Egypt. They were Egyptians. The same people as what the same ethnicity and people groups that always lived in Egypt. When the Arabs invaded, they took it over and they renamed the country in modern times the Arab Republic of Egypt. That's what they are. They're invaders. Every Arab in North Africa is an invader. Prior to Muhammad, none of them were there.
Sheesh.
But the Arabs, but Egypt's got more than just one invader. It's got the Arabs. The Arabs invaded. The Greeks invaded.
But we're not going back that far. We're talking about today and what they are today. Today, they're all Arabs, and we know when they came, and we know they got a language, and we know they suppressed the people. And to this, you can go on any news network, and almost every other day, the Arabs setting down, bombing churches, killing Coptic Egyptians. This is the reality of Egypt. Okay, this is what it is. We know the Greeks attacked. We know the Assyrians went there. That's long before the time we're talking about.
The last people to invade Egypt were the Turks, the Ottoman Turks.
So why don't the original people? If there's any left, why don't we just take it back?
Family tree, right? You know, we've got what? I'm going to give it 3 more minutes left. So the 2 hour and a half mark, right? Because usually I'm trying to get these shows down to 1 hour and a half, right? And I'm struggling. I don't know if I can make it to 1 hour and a half. So far, we're doing it at 2 2.5 hours. Okay. So family, let me just do a little recap of what we've gone through today. Today's show was Kemetic cult versus religion. We investigated the cultic practices of Kemet. Discussion on if any groups truly practice Kemetic philosophy or Kemetic religion or the Kemetic cult. We delved into we were supposed to delve into the similarities and differences of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism with Kemet. Was Kemet really the father of all these religions? You know what I'm going to say? Just to leave it on a nice little cliffhanger. Kemet was the father of all of those religions, right? Every single one of them. No, I'm not. No. I'm lying. Let me not lie properly. Let me be more precise. Judaism, is a Kemetic religion or one of the Kemetic cults.
Why are you picking on Judaism again, Kalam? Man,
because it is,
brother. You be attacking us all the time.
No, it's not even an attack. It's actually something that's good. You was part of our. No, let me.
I agree. There were certain things.
I say our like it's my country.
There's certain things.
Kalam. Hold on. Wait. I'm saying let me say this because I need to always be precise with my words, right? The Judaism was founded inside of the Kemetic Empire, making its cult part of the Kemetic, a cult within inside of the Kemetic Empire. Therefore, I'm classifying it as a Kemetic cult.
That's like saying the Nawapians were founded in America, therefore making it part of the American paradigm. This is not true.
It is 100% true.
Something could be created somewhere. It doesn't mean it's got something to do with the cult.
That is an Afro-American cult.
Absolutely.
That is where it originated.
I agree, but it doesn't make it
can't
based
lie on
on Christianity, for example, which is the root of Americanism. America's based in, Christianity, etc., etc. The Nuwapians have nothing to do with Christianity. Ethnically, not even the people group. I mean, they're a different people group even.
But Nuwapianism do have a lot to do. Nuwapianism has been influenced by Christianity.
Exactly.
Just like all of the Black identity movements. All of them have been identified. That's the spirit and the soul of the country. Even the Nation of Islam, all of them have been. There's no escaping it. This is part of the acculturation that you learn throughout just being in the country. It would be a lie for me to even say that I'm not affected by Christianity being in the UK, or I'm not affected by feministic ideologies being in the UK, or I'm not affected by capitalism being in the UK.
Okay, let's say you're correct. Let's say you're correct, and let's say there are some influences in Judaism that come from Kemet. What makes that special?
There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. There's no specialism in it at all. And that's why I need to get people away from. There's no specialism in it. And that's why I need to make people know that even if I talk about Kemetic philosophy, right, I do not even claim to be the people of Kemet. We need to stop that. We need to be happy in our own identity and who we are as a people. That's the way I see it. I just see Kemetic philosophy as something that I gravitate to, that is in my estimation, and it doesn't have to be anybody else's estimation. It is the highest manifestation of culture and civilization that the world has seen. And for me, if that's the highest that the world has seen, surely I can learn a thing or two from that particular philosophical system and that particular empire and culture, and see what I can incorporate into my life. The same thing I do for Greek philosophy, the same thing I do for, I do that for like Chinese Buddhism and so forth. I incorporate a lot of things, but I have to be very precise and clear that, nope, this is me taken from, Buddhism, or this is me taken from Freemasonry or Rosicrucianism or Islam or Sufism. I can identify this is where I'm taking from, right? But when I'm talking Kemet, this is straight Kemet.
And see, that's what people don't do, Kalam. People don't separate like that. People just bunch it all together.
But I do. When you read those 8 points about Kemeticism, you said 8 points. I saw many similarities there between Jewish practices, which you wouldn't necessarily associate until you heard what you said. When you talk about the morning prayers, the day prayers following the sun, what do you think the prayer system is? When you pray in the morning, pray at midday, pray in the evening, that is following the movement of the sun right there to start with. And when I saw some of the text which was written in that document, and the morning prayer is like, that's what we do. We make morning prayer. And not only that, Jews also have optional different night prayers. When you see 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, you got many. So it's literally, and we follow the lunar calendar, unlike the Gregorians. So I see similarities in there. I don't promote them, but I see them, and I understand that there is clearly some crossover here. And we all know the story of Moses, and we know the Egyptians were influential in the reason, and we see Hezekiah's seals. We know these things, but it's
100%.
It's got some
and do you know what?
origin, but it's got some uniqueness.
100% that as well. 100%. You know what? I was reading today as well. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna actually start reading the Psalms again. Because the Psalms, it's like it helps me to understand Kemetic philosophy even better, or the Kemetic hymn practices, right? Because we do hymns every day, and looking at how it's been attributed to David, and looking at how his hymns, and how he, ascribes, or how he describes God, right? He's what he wants from God, what he's going to do, and so forth, right? And like, wow, this is straight, in my eyes, straight Kemetic. I can learn a thing or two, from reading these Psalms. Like, it is powerful, absolutely powerful.
You see this one?
Let me make you bigger. Let me make you bigger so I can see it properly.
That's the version you want to read.
The Book of Psalms. Yeah.
This one, this version, this one.
Yeah.
That's the one you want. Yeah.
With interlinear translation. Yeah. By
That's the best translation. Absolutely the best one out there.
Sick. Okay. So family tree. Yeah. What you lot saying? Do you want more encore? Family, if you got anything else to say, everybody, please drop your one-liners, say what you want to say, ask your questions or make your comments. We're going to continue this off air as we normally do till early hours of the morning. If you guys would like to come in, the link is pinned up top. And don't forget to support us. Hit us up with your super chats or your cash apps. And if you would like to join future shows, let's see, can I share my screen once more? See, I'm giving you lot my personal information, you lot. I don't think you lot know, you lot don't know. Is this it? No, that's not it. Stop screen sharing. Let's present again. Share screen. There we go. Kemetic cult stuff. There you go. So here's the cash app if you want to donate to Titans TV. But again, here is my personal WhatsApp. Yeah, don't share this to any and anybody. So join it if you want to get updates when new shows are coming out. If you would like to propose a topic to be covered, right? Drop me a message in there as well, and we'll get it on and crack it. But yeah, family tree, I'm actually going to close it down right now if nobody hasn't got anything to say, and we'll continue this dialogue off air. Ooh. Inshallah, your personal info will be shared with the brothers and speakers. I love it. All right, family. So yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Gang, who's on right now, stay on, and we're going to continue the conversation. I know you're joking, my guy. And remember, hit the link up top, join in. Only one more space is available, so move fast if you want to come in. All right, family tree, it's been amazing. We've had some great information, and I'll catch you on another one. I want to do one more show this week. I got one more show because remember I said I'm going to try to do 3 shows a week. One more show. Yeah, stay tuned for that one. Peace and love, family, and I'll catch you guys on the other side. Young Cali, baby. Oh man.